I woke up to screaming. Men's faces surrounded me. Old, young, all kinds. Around us, guys were getting beaten with wooden boards, begging for mercy, swearing they'd have more children next year. Strange memories flooded my head. I realized I'd traveled through time into another person's body, someone who shared my name. This place was the Great Chen Kingdom, a made-up dynasty that never existed in any history book. This world was brutal. Constant wars between small nations had killed most of the men. Women now outnumbered men 9-1. The ruler, afraid the country would die out, made harsh laws. Every man over 16 had to marry at least 2 wives. If you didn't have children within 4 years, you got beaten and fined. The screaming I heard? That was the punishment. A man in his 40s helped me up. He called himself my uncle, Lie. His face was covered in scars from childhood smallpox. He told me not to worry about the beatings and said I needed to bring silver to the officers. He pointed at 3 groups of women and explained. The ones on the left were strong and healthy, the best picks. The middle ones were decent. The ones on the right were too thin and weak. Nobody wanted them. I almost laughed. By modern standards, those unwanted, thin women would be considered the most attractive. But here, curves and strength meant everything. Then I saw her. My heart nearly stopped. Among the women stood a face I knew, Lie Xiaoen. Just before I traveled through time, I'd been on a blind date with this exact woman. She'd sat across from me in a fancy cafe, tapping her manicured nails, and asked if I had a house, a car, $1 million in savings. When I shook my head, she poured her coffee over my head, called me worthless, and walked out. Then a robber appeared at the door, and after that, I ended up here. Had she traveled through time too? She noticed me staring. Her face changed. She looked like she wanted to run to me. But another woman grabbed her, covered her mouth, and told her to stay quiet. Lie Xiaoqian's eyes filled with tears. She looked at me with hurt and resentment, but I turned away. After the punishments ended, it was time to pick wives. Men with money rushed forward, grabbing the strongest women first. Lie cursed under his breath, angry that the rich ones were taking all the good picks. Nearby, people grumbled about a guy named Su Laosan who'd already chosen 10 women despite looking half dead himself. I glanced at Su Laosan, the guy who'd picked 10 wives. He looked terrible. Sunken eyes, pale face, skin and bones. Lie said the man couldn't even last 2 minutes. I looked at his 10 strong women and honestly doubted he could handle any of them. Good land means nothing if the farmer can't plow. Lie got called up next. The best women were already taken, so he picked 5 from the middle group. I had to admire the man's ambition. Some of his wives weren't young. I remembered from the original owner's memories that women who lost their husbands in war and hadn't given birth to sons got sent back to be chosen again. Then I heard my name. Lin Xiaofan. I stepped forward with the other boys my age. We were all skinny and poor. By now, fewer than 10 women remained in the middle group, and the unwanted ones on the right were barely touched. Everyone avoided them, afraid they couldn't have children. The other boys rushed forward, shoving each other. But I walked slowly. Hurry up, Lie yelled at me. Up on his platform, the county magistrate stroked his beard, pleased with everyone's eagerness. Then he noticed me, the only one not rushing, and frowned. By the time I reached the front, the middle group was empty. A thin man walked toward the unwanted women, looking them over like he was picking fruit at a market. The women begged him desperately. Sir, please take me. I don't eat much. My mother had 3 sons. Some dropped to their knees. I looked at their tearful faces and thin bodies. Something heavy settled in my chest. These women had no one. If I didn't help them, who would? Maybe I should take them all. Before I could say anything, the thin man kicked one of the women. She slid across the ground and lay there crying softly. He cursed at her, calling her useless. Then I heard a familiar voice. Sister, are you all right? I smiled. Lie Xiaoqian, my old blind date, the coffee-pouring queen herself, was kneeling beside the kicked woman, who turned out to be her sister. The sister, still in pain, looked up at the man who'd kicked her, hoping he'd still take her in. But Lie Xiaoqian glared at him like she wanted to burn him alive. The man laughed and told them both to kneel and apologize if they wanted him to take them. Lie Xiaoqian nearly exploded, but her sister covered her mouth and forced her down. Do you want to end up in the brothel? Her sister whispered. That shut Lie Xiaoqian up fast. The man grinned, proud of himself, and insulted them again. That's when I stepped forward. I crouched down in front of Lie Xiaoen and lifted her chin gently. She stared at me, eyes wide. I gave her a little smile, the kind that said, "Remember me?" She recognized me instantly. I could see it in her face, shock, then frustration. If she had one big regret in life, it was probably that blind date with me. She'd only agreed because I looked decent, and then we both ended up here. Her sister begged me to take them in. "We don't eat much. We'll work hard. Please, sir." I kept my eyes on Lie Xiaoen. "It's not impossible," I said. "But that depends on her." Her sister pinched her waist. "Beg him," she hissed. But Lie Xiaoen pressed her lips together and refused. "Looks like your sister still thinks I'm beneath her," I said calmly. "I'll just pick someone else." I stood up and turned away. Her sister broke down crying, hitting Lie Xiaoen. "Are you trying to ruin us both?" Lie Xiaoqian's eyes went red. She looked at her sister's desperate face, and something inside her cracked. With a loud thud, she dropped to her knees. "Please, take us in." Seeing Lie Xiaoqian finally kneel, I didn't feel any real satisfaction. Sure, our blind date back in the modern world had been awful. She'd poured coffee on my head for no good reason. But I'd already told her off back then. That chapter was closed. I smiled at the two sisters and told them I'd take them both. Learmatzi rushed over, panicking. "Are you crazy? Those two are the thinnest ones here. They can't work. They can't have kids. You're asking for trouble." He pointed at two other young women nearby who had slightly fuller figures. "At least pick those two instead." But the two women he pointed at looked at me nervously, then pulled a third girl forward. All three knelt together and bowed. "Sir, we may be thin, but we're healthy and hardworking. Please take us." Three sisters. They looked alike, fine features hidden under dusty, sun-darkened skin. Learmatzi grabbed my arm. "Three more? You'll get 50 strikes if they don't have children. Your little body won't survive that." I almost rolled my eyes. Why was everyone so sure I couldn't have a son? If one day wasn't enough, I'd try two. If night wasn't enough, I'd add the daytime. I refused to believe hard work wouldn't pay off. "Fine, you three can come too," I said. That's when things got out of hand. Every remaining woman rushed forward, knelt down, and started begging me to take them. I was stunned. Learmatzi jumped behind me in fright. Looking at all those desperate, tearful faces, something stirred in my chest. A man's duty. I opened my mouth. "All right, you can all come." Learmatzi slapped his hand over my mouth. "Are you insane? What are you going to feed them?" "Air. Your family can barely survive as it is." He had a point. Maybe I got carried away. Then the county magistrate walked over, laughing. He'd been watching me the whole time. At first he thought I was lazy because I walked so slowly. But now he was impressed by my ambition. "Young man, your spirit is admirable," he said, patting my shoulder. "But you're still young. Take these 5 for now. This event happens twice a year. You can come back for more next time." The magistrate had spoken, so I agreed. The women I couldn't take looked devastated. 3 of them fainted right there. A woman nearby explained through tears that those who weren't chosen would be sent to the entertainment house, basically a brothel. She thanked me for saving her and her sister from that fate. I wanted to go back for the 3 who fainted, but Learmatzi dragged me away. 5 unwanted wives is enough trouble. Let's go collect your silver. So I walked away with 5 wives and 3 taels of silver. If anyone ever asked me how a man who couldn't even get one date ended up with 5 wives and got paid for it, I'd say the secret is simple: just travel through time. But the celebration was short-lived. 3 taels of silver sounded like a lot to the original Lin Xiaofan, who'd never touched real money in his life. But feeding 6 mouths? It wouldn't last long. I needed to find a way to earn money, and fast. Still, I refused to believe that a modern man with nearly 20 years of education couldn't figure out how to survive in ancient times. 5 wives and 3 taels of silver. Life in ancient times wasn't looking so bad after all. Learmatzi kept saying these women couldn't have children because they were too thin. I just smiled. These people had strange taste, ignoring graceful beauties and chasing after bigger women. Besides, everyone knows it's mostly the man who determines these things. Modern celebrities are thin as sticks and still have plenty of kids. We walked home in silence, the 5 women following behind me with their heads down. When we arrived, I was shocked. The yard was surrounded by a few broken branches for a fence, and the house was just a shabby thatched hut. There wasn't even a real gate, just some sticks tied together with rope. Husband, is this really our home? Lie Xiaoqian's older sister asked carefully. Yes, I said. Years of war. Life is hard for everyone. Then Li Ermatzi called out from next door, standing in front of a grand courtyard made of blue stone. My mouth twitched. So it wasn't that everyone was poor. It was just me. Made sense, though. Men were valued here. Families with many wives had plenty of hands to work, so they lived well. Li Ermatzi's big house was built by his wives. One of the women spoke up gently. Husband, don't worry. Someday we'll build a house even bigger than that. She walked ahead and opened the gate for me. I appreciated her saving my pride. Then Lie Xiaoqian came up with that familiar mocking smile. No car, no house, no savings. In modern times or ancient times, you're still the same. You were greedy enough to take 5 wives. Can you even feed us? I just stared at her. She smirked. Nothing to say? A poor man is always a poor man. I ignored her and walked inside. The other 4 women had already gotten to work. One was sweeping, another was airing out the bedding, and one had started a fire to boil water. When she saw me, she smiled sweetly. Husband, please sit down. The water will be ready soon. She guided me to the only stool in the yard and leaned softly against my arm. Her light sense surrounded me, and her gentle voice calling me, husband, made my heart skip. I touched her hand. She froze, face turning red, head dropping shyly. She told me there wasn't enough bedding for everyone, and the others offered to bring some from their old homes. I nodded and thanked them, but the moment I said, thank you, they all flinched like I'd said something terrible. They nearly knelt in fear. I didn't understand. One of them explained, trembling, husband, you saved me from a terrible fate. Taking care of you is my duty. Please don't thank me like that. In this world, the wives took care of the husband, not the other way around. Everything I knew was turned upside down. 3 of them left to fetch bedding. The one tending the fire introduced herself, Lu Shishir, along with her sisters Cici and Yin Yin. Lu Shishir. I shivered. That name sounded exactly like a famous actress from modern times. And when I looked at her face closely, dark skin aside, her features were just as beautiful. I shook my head at the irony. Back in the modern world, I couldn't even get a girlfriend. Here, I'd somehow married several beautiful women. Then Cici brought me a bowl of hot water. You've been busy all morning. Let it cool a bit before drinking. Such simple kindness, but it hit me hard. What happened next really stunned me. Shishir brought out a wooden basin, mixed hot and cool water, tested the temperature with her hand, and set it at my feet. Before I could stop her, she knelt down, removed my worn shoes and socks, rolled up my pants, and gently placed both my feet in the warm water. I sat there, completely frozen. A beautiful, kind woman washing my feet, calling me husband, caring for me like I mattered. 30 years of being single in the modern world, and nothing had ever come close to this. Shishir's hands were soft as she washed my feet. The warm water made my ears turn red, and she was blushing just as much. Then Cici blew on the hot water in my bowl, tested it carefully, and held it to my lips. I drank, just plain boiled water, but it tasted sweeter than honey. She even wiped my mouth with her sleeve between sips. I felt dizzy. A beautiful woman feeding me water while another washed my feet? Even an emperor might not have it this good. After the water was gone, Shishir dried my feet, sat on a small stool, and started massaging them. Full service, I thought. Then Lie Xiaoqian and her sister came back carrying bedding. When Xiaoqian saw Shishir massaging my feet, she exploded. How can you lower yourself like this? She shouted. A sharp slap cut her off. Her own sister had hit her. Sister, you actually hit me? Xiaoqian stared in shock. Shishir and Cici glared at Xiaoqian. Her sister pulled her down to kneel. Husband, forgive her. She's young and foolish, but Xiaoqian wouldn't stop. Look at this place. He is nothing. Why are you begging? Her sister slapped her several more times. How dare you? If you want to throw your life away, don't drag me with you. She turned to me, bowing so hard her forehead hit the ground and turned red. Please don't be angry. She's not a bad person. I'll teach her properly. I looked at Xiaoqian calmly. My little courtyard is too poor for someone as grand as you, Miss Xiaoqian. Please find somewhere else. Her sister went pale and begged harder. Xiaoqian tried to argue, but her sister covered her mouth and hissed at her to apologize. That's when I saw the fear in Xiaoqian's eyes. She'd been told how things worked here. Women had 3 paths. First, marry a man and give him a son. That meant safety. Second, the entertainment house, serving guests with strict demands. Third, the worst, being cast out. Women thrown away by their husbands had no protection, no record, no rights. They were treated like objects, passed around, and if they died, nobody cared. Xiaoqian was trembling. She'd been here for days but still couldn't accept this world. For men, it was paradise. For women, a nightmare. All she wanted was to go home. Tears ran down her face. She looked at me with those big, wet eyes, truly pitiful. Then I noticed the bruise on her sister's forehead from bowing so hard. My heart softened. I thought about it practically. We were poor, and one more person meant one more pair of hands. And if I threw Xiaoqian out, it would hurt my relationship with her sister. All right, everyone get up, I said. Just then, Lu Yinyan walked in carrying a huge bundle. Bedding, clothes, pots, pans, everything. Shir and Cece rushed to help her unload. Yinyan had even brought their leftover half-bag of rice. I saw there wasn't much food here, she said. This should last us 2 days. I felt a sting of shame. My home was so poor we barely had food. Lier words echoed in my head. What are you going to feed them? He wasn't wrong. I had 3 taels of silver, but that wouldn't last. These gentle, kind women were my family now. I wanted them to live well. Real food. A proper home. Not these leaky thatched huts held together by hope. Saving wouldn't be enough. I needed to find a way to earn money. I did some quick math. Regular grain cost 500 coins per shir, and 1 shir was 120 jin. With 3 taels of silver, I could buy about 720 jin. 6 people eating 12 jin a day meant my money would last roughly 2 months. And that was just plain grain, no meat at all. That wasn't good enough. I'd married 5 beautiful, kind women, and each of them deserved a good life. Back in modern times, even marrying one of them would have felt like winning the lottery. I set myself a small goal, meat on the table every day, and eventually a big 2-story house, at least 100 times grander than Lier. I even thought about making little name tags to decide who'd keep me company each night. Just the thought made me grin. While I was daydreaming, soft hands started massaging my shoulders. The pressure was perfect. Shir's sweet voice whispered near my ear, "Husband, are you tired? Want me to help you relax?" Her light scent drifted over me. She was so close, so warm. I couldn't resist. I turned, pulled her in gently, and kissed her quickly on the lips. "If you keep teasing me, I might not hold back," I said with a grin. Her face turned bright red. "Husband, it's daytime," she stammered. I laughed and let it go, resting my hand on her waist. I really couldn't understand the people here. How could anyone not appreciate a woman this graceful? Then my stomach growled. Loud. The body I'd taken over had barely eaten for days. The original Lie Xiaoen had been so weak and sickly that a sudden fright had actually killed him. No wonder. "I guess I forgot to eat," I said, scratching my head awkwardly. Yinyan jumped up right away. "We'll cook for you." She grabbed the coarse grain she'd brought and headed for the kitchen with Cece. The kitchen was a tiny hut with one big pot and a thatched roof that swayed in the wind like it might fall apart any second. But neither of them complained. Their husband hadn't minded that others said they couldn't have children. So how could they complain about a poor house? Shir stayed behind, massaging my shoulders, worrying I looked too weak. She didn't want to become a widow on her first day of marriage. I tried to say I was fine, but a wave of dizziness hit me, so I sat down and let her take care of me. With the breeze and her gentle touch, I fell asleep. When I woke up, the table had been moved in front of me. The women sat around it quietly. Only Lie Xiaoen stared at me with obvious annoyance. "Husband, would you like to eat?" they asked. I nodded. They brought a big bowl of steaming rice, served in a worn-out old basin because we didn't even have a proper bowl. I pulled it close and took a bite. Then I frowned. The coarse grain was hard, bland, and nothing like modern food. Cece's face went pale with fear. Did I cook it wrong? Has it gone cold? She looked terrified, like I might throw her out. Yinyan rushed to defend her. "Please don't send her away. She'll do better next time." Then Shir suddenly stood up, pulled her sisters close, and all 3 dropped to their knees with a thud. "Husband, please don't drive us away. She'll be more careful. Please forgive her." They were about to press their foreheads to the ground. My heart sank. All I'd done was make a face at the food, and they thought I was going to send them away. "I'm not angry," I said quickly. "The food is good. I just haven't eaten anything like this in a while." I waved Sure over, took her hand, and sat her beside me. Her forehead was red from bowing, her eyes wet like a scared rabbit. I wiped her tears gently, then started eating. After the first few bites, I couldn't stop. Days without food made even plain coarse grain taste amazing. I ate like a starving man. Lie Xiaoen tried a spoonful too, but frowned. She'd always been pampered and wasn't used to rough food. Before she could say a word, her sister slapped her again. Xiaoqian looked confused and hurt. All she'd done was take a bite of rice. Her sister knelt and scolded her. You can't eat before your husband. Have you forgotten the rules? I searched through the original owner's memories and found it. In this kingdom, women were only allowed to eat after men finished. Eating without permission was considered stealing, punishable by death. Only women who'd already given birth could eat alongside their husbands. I sighed. Xiaoqian's sister heard it and panicked, thinking I was disappointed. She raised her hand to hit Xiaoqian again, but I stopped her. It's fine. In my house, we don't follow those rules. Everyone eats together. The women stared at each other, frozen. Cece spoke first. Husband, you eat. We're not hungry. Right on cue. Someone's stomach growled loudly. Cece's face turned crimson and she stared at the floor. Gentle words weren't working, so I got firm. I went inside, found enough chopsticks and spoons, and brought them out. The women went pale. Husband, we can't eat with you. We just got married. You're my family now, I said. That means you listen to me, right? Yes. Anything, as long as you don't send us away. Good. Then I'm ordering you to eat. They exchanged nervous looks, then slowly picked up their spoons. They took tiny, careful bites, afraid of looking greedy. But they finished the whole bowl clean. I got up for more, but they jumped to their feet. Let us handle it, husband, and brought out another steaming bowl. After 2 bowls, we were all about 60% full. Sure even let out a small burp. These women hadn't eaten a proper meal in ages. Food was scarce, and women always ate last and least. That's why they were so thin, years of going hungry. I burped too, feeling satisfied. Then I heard crying. It was Sure. I went to her and lifted her chin. Her eyes were red and wet, her nose twitching. Why are you crying? I'm just so touched, she said, tears falling. My father never treated my mother this kindly. But you invited us to eat at the same table and wiped my tears. I'll work hard to repay you. Then her face grew serious. Husband, if after 3 years none of us have children, we'll take responsibility. We won't bring you any trouble. Xiaoqian's sister, Xiaoran, was crying too. We know nobody wanted us. You were kind enough to take us in. If we can't bear sons, we won't let you suffer for it. Xiaoqian stood quietly with her head down, saying nothing. I pulled both crying women close and held them. Looking at their tearful faces, I sighed. Who told you that not having a son is the woman's fault? They all stared at me, stunned. Cece spoke first, confused. If we can't have a son, isn't that the woman's fault? Could it be the man's? The moment she said it, she slapped herself hard. I'm sorry, husband. I didn't mean to doubt you. I sighed and walked over to her. I touched her reddened cheek gently. Cece, you are my wife. Everything about you is precious. Never hurt yourself again without my permission. Understand? She looked at me like no one had ever said anything like that to her before. Having a son isn't just the woman's job, I told them all. It mostly depends on the man. Don't worry. I'll keep you all safe, no matter what. And we will have sons. They blushed deeply. I set some rules for the house. We eat together, we share the work, and nobody hurts themselves. They nodded quickly, and I finally felt satisfied. Then I looked around our home. Bare walls, nothing worth stealing, patched clothes on every one of us. The marriage silver wouldn't last. I needed a real plan. Winter was coming. The house needed fixing. We needed meat, vegetables, proper food, not just coarse grain. I wanted to buy each wife 2 sets of clothes. All of this cost money I didn't have. But I wasn't worried. Nearly 30 years of education, a graduate degree, a mind trained in science. A small ancient village wasn't going to beat me. Sure noticed me frowning. Husband, what's wrong? Just planning our future, I said. She offered to check the farmland and suggested mixing cheap grain with wild vegetables. Since I'd taken 5 wives, the village had given us some land. Fast-growing crops could help soon. Then Lie Xiaoen couldn't hold back anymore. Is this really food for people? Even pigs wouldn't eat it. Her sister Xiaoran slapped her twice. Xiaoqian cried out, then turned on me. If you have no money, why did you marry so many wives? Do you want us all to starve? Sharon's eyes filled with tears, but this time she slapped herself, not her sister. Xiaoqian was shocked. Sharon looked at her with deep disappointment and reminded her what happened to women who got thrown out. No protection, no status, treated worse than brothel workers. Xiaoqian shrank. She knelt down, but the apology wouldn't come out of her mouth. Before things got worse, a woman's scream came from outside. I stepped out first. Through the flimsy fence, I saw a barefoot woman with bloody feet and messy hair running from a big man swinging a broom at her back. Blood spotted the ground where she ran. My wife shrank back in horror. The man, Daniu, a neighbor, spotted me and grinned with yellow teeth. Xiaofan, I heard you took 5 women nobody wanted. Look how thin and weak you all are. They can't work or have children. I stepped in front of my wives, blocking his view. Uncle Daniu, whether my wives can have children has nothing to do with you. His face darkened. He spat toward me. I was trying to help, and you talk to me like that? I didn't flinch. The old Lin Xiaofan would have cowered on the ground. But I wasn't him anymore. Sure, bring me the knife. She froze, then ran to the kitchen and came back with a chipped blade. I weighed it in my hand and waved it casually toward Daniu, smiling. This knife is a bit dull. He stepped back. I sighed dramatically. No parents, a falling apart house, weak body, wives nobody wanted. Tell me, Uncle Daniu, what's even the point of living like this? His face changed fast. A man with nothing to lose was dangerous. He muttered something about me bringing trouble on myself and ran off after the woman he'd been beating. After he left, my wives looked shaken but relieved. I could tell they were thinking the same thing. Compared to men like Daniu, I wasn't so bad. Sure, and the sisters looked at me with grateful eyes. Sharon was still worrying about her stubborn sister, but even she seemed more at peace. I put the knife back and smiled. Come on, let's go visit the village head. We walked to the home of Li Da, the Leasing, the most respected man in the village. When he saw me and my wives, he sighed. Ah, Xiaofan, the ones you chose. My wives lowered their heads in shame. They knew what people thought of them. Unwanted women who couldn't bear sons. They felt like they'd brought me disgrace. They're fine, Uncle Li, I said. I just came to see what land we can get. The village head, Li Da, shook his head. Most of the good plots are already taken. You came too late. That was the rule. First come, first served. Li Ermatzi, who'd acted so friendly earlier, hadn't said a word and quietly grabbed his share before I even knew what was happening. What's left? I asked. Lita took me to see. In this area, land came in 2 types, flat fields and hillside slopes. The flat fields were fertile and productive, but already claimed. The slopes had lower taxes but poor harvests. Nobody wanted them. He pointed to a large slope near the mountain. This part hasn't been taken. I can give you more of it to make up for the quality. Then Li Daniu showed up, of course. He was still sore about the knife incident and wanted to embarrass me. You really plan to farm this junk land? He laughed. I ignored him and asked Li Da if there was anything else. He sighed and led me to the southern mountain. The land there was even worse, overgrown with weeds, clearly abandoned for years. But as I walked around inspecting it, I noticed something odd. The right side of the field was strangely bare. Almost no weeds, barely any trees, and the few that survived had dead leaves. I crouched down for a closer look. Lita came over nervously. Nobody knows what's wrong with that spot. Even grass won't grow. The elders say it's cursed. Cursed? I raised an eyebrow. I was a modern man with a science degree. I didn't believe in curses. I scooped up some soil and smelled it. Li Daniu saw my interest, and his eyes lit up with a scheming look. You actually want this wasteland? You must be crazy. He kept running his mouth. I looked up at him coldly. So what if I do? What's it to you? That made him furious. He puffed up his chest. If you dare take this hill, I'll eat my hat. I looked at him like he was an idiot. What would I want your head for? If you're serious, let's bet money. He hesitated. My wives crowded around me, tugging my sleeve, begging me not to do it. Sure said nothing grew here, and it was useless. Sharon pointed to the neighboring plot, where at least weeds were growing. Yin and Cece both pleaded with me to pick something else. Daniu saw their reactions and got an idea. He figured if I took this barren land, I'd be stuck paying taxes on soil that produced nothing. I'd regret it and give up eventually, and he'd win either way. Fine, he said. 2 taels of silver. If you take the land, I pay you 2 taels. But if you quit halfway, you pay me 4, Lita tried to stop me. Xiaofan, don't be rash, Daniu smirked. What's wrong, Lin Xiaofan? Scared? This land is hopeless. Even if you give up, I won't call you a coward. Lita was furious with Daniu for provoking me. But before he could stop things, I spoke up. Uncle Lee, this land isn't that bad. But the bet's too small. Make it 4 taels, and I'll consider it. Daniu's eyes flickered with greed. He figured if I couldn't pay double later, 8 taels, he could take my wives as payment. The thought made him almost giddy. I pretended to hesitate. Uncle Lee, let's just forget it. Daniu jumped in immediately. 4 taels. Deal. But if you quit, you owe me 8. I nodded. All right. Lita tried to talk me out of it. My wives begged me to stop. But I agreed cheerfully and held out my hand. I want the silver now. Daniu's face tightened. 4 taels was 10 years of savings for him. But he handed it over. I snatched the silver and grinned, so wide it probably blinded him. Uncle Daniu, thank you for your generosity. He glared at me. You'll have to return it sooner or later. Don't worry, I said. You won't live to see that day. With the contract signed and fingerprints pressed, I walked away humming a tune, 4 taels of silver jingling in my hand. My wives weren't nearly as happy. They did the math. The land was over 60 acres, which meant 10 sure of grain and taxes next year. The soil was so dead that even weeds couldn't survive on it. They thought I'd lost my mind. Sure walked beside me, trying to stay calm. Husband, these fields won't grow anything. Even the hardiest weeds die here. Why did you lease this land? I smiled and pinched her cheek. Smooth as chocolate. Husband, I'm being serious, she said, blushing. I laughed. Dear sure, I never said I wanted to plant anything here. Her eyes went wide. Not planting anything? Then why lease it? I leaned down and kissed her quickly on the lips. Sweet. She turned crimson. You're teasing me again. That side with the weeds. We'll figure out what to plant later, I told her. But this bare half, we're not planting anything. Trust me, there's something good underground. She stared at me, not sure whether to believe me or worry more. When Xiaoran and the others arrived with tools, I grabbed a shovel and headed up the mountain. Sure sent Yin to follow me. She was the strongest of the sisters and could keep me safe. I found the driest, most barren spot and started to dig. Yin rushed over and took the shovel from my hands. Husband, digging is rough work. Let me do it. You rest. Yin pushed me aside, rolled up her sleeves, and started digging like a machine. Dirt piled up fast beside her. I stood there holding the shovel, watching this slim girl outwork me completely. Something felt wrong about this picture. Shouldn't I be the one sweating? If my single friends from modern times could see this, they'd lose their minds. I tried to take over. Let me do it. Husband, I'm not tired, she said, wiping sweat with the back of her hand and smiling brightly. She flexed her thin arm. See? I'm strong. A small muscle showed. Compared to my pale, weak body, she really was stronger. But when she made a fist, I noticed something, a scar on her wrist. My eyes darkened. I didn't say anything yet, but I made a mental note. My woman, my responsibility. Nobody hurts her. She went back to digging, and I knew arguing was pointless. So I stepped back, picked a piece of grass, stuck it in my mouth, and lay down nearby with my legs crossed. I watched her work, humming a tune. At first I felt guilty. I'd wanted to change my wives' thinking, make them stand tall and proud. But watching Yin glance at me between shovelfuls, smiling even while sweating, I understood something. These women wanted to show their strength. It gave them purpose. Who was I to take that away? Being a lazy fish wasn't so bad after all. Blue sky, fresh air, gentle breeze. Life in ancient times was pretty comfortable. Meanwhile, on the hillside, Lie Xiaoen was fuming. She watched me lying around while Yin did all the work and nearly exploded. Sister, look at him. He's shameless, she hissed at Xiaoran. But Xiaoran just patted her head. What's wrong with your husband resting? Taking care of him is our job. Xiaoqian couldn't believe it. Her sister had fully accepted this world's rules. Xiaoran's face turned serious. I won't beg for you anymore. You know what happens to women who leave. If you want to go, I won't stop you, but you won't last long out there. That shut Xiaoqian up. Her hands started trembling. Without her sister, she'd be finished. If you want to stay, Xiaoran said quietly, then serve your husband and listen to him. Suddenly, Yin cried out. I jumped to my feet. Everyone rushed over. I can't dig anymore, Yin said. There's something hard down there. I pulled her up and jumped into the hole. I crouched down and touched the surface below. Grayish-white stone. Slightly warm. My heart started racing. Give me the hoe. Sure handed it over. I hacked at the stone a few times. It wasn't too hard, but was tough to break through. Yin offered to take over, but I shook my head. No. I need to see this myself. If I'm right, this could make us rich. The women looked at each other like I'd gone crazy. Stones at the bottom of a mountain. What was so special about that? But Xiaoqian stretched her neck to peek into the hole. I could see the wheels turning in her head. A mine? Her face flushed red with excitement. If there really was something valuable down there, no more coarse grain. Maybe even meat. Lin Xiaofan, she called out. What kind of stone is this? Xiaoqian's eyes lit up when I mentioned limestone. She wasn't stupid. She knew limestone was valuable for building. If this mountain had real deposits, we could get rich. Really? We might be rich, she shouted. Sharon looked doubtful. Sure shook her head too. If there was limestone here, people would have mined it long ago. I think it might be a new type, I said. Let's dig some out and test it. I knew how to process limestone from school and from videos I'd watched in modern times. The key was calcination, heating it at the right temperature. I'd need to build a kiln. The women weren't fully convinced, but Xiaoqian pushed them forward. This land can't grow anything anyway. Might as well try. I wanted to keep digging, but Yin pulled me out of the hole. Husband, this work is too tiring for you. Rest. Sure agreed. We can handle this. Yin was stronger than me and quickly dug out several pieces. The women carried them home while I took one stone and headed back to plant a kiln. On the village path, I ran into Li and Li Daniu, sitting in the sun, each with a wife massaging their shoulders. Daniu sneered at me. What's that? A rock? You're so poor you're pretending stones are treasure. Ermatzi tried to sound concerned. Xiaofan, I heard you bought that dead hill. You should give up, I smiled calmly. Ermatzi hadn't warned me about the land when it mattered. Now he was pretending to care. No need to give up, Uncle Li. I like that land. Daniu laughed and looked at my stone. Carrying rocks yourself? What are your wives for? Useless, too thin and small. Then he slapped the woman behind him hard on her backside. Use more strength. Her face went red with shame. Something cold rose in my chest. I looked at him and said, women are meant to be pampered, not hit. Only useless men hit women. Cece had just stepped outside and heard me say that. Her eyes turned red and she looked up at the sky, trying not to cry. Daniu snorted. Pamper women? Are you crazy? Ermatzi quickly changed the subject, asking about my stones. I told him I was thinking of fixing my kitchen. He agreed it needed work. Don't let the wind blow it away. I nodded and turned to leave. Neither of these men was worth my time. I spotted Cece carrying a basket. She looked shy and flustered. Husband, I smiled at her gently. Go ahead. Don't overwork yourself. I'd feel bad. She whispered, and hurried off, face pink. I chuckled. Had I done something? The girl seemed embarrassed. Behind me, Daniu spat. Pretending. He and Ermatzi kept talking, mocking me, saying I was stubborn, that my wives couldn't have children, that the county punishments would kill a small man like me. Then Daniu noticed his own wife staring toward my house. His face twisted with rage. He raised his big hand and swung it at her face. You worthless woman. Looking at another man? I'll beat you to death. Daniu tore off his shoe and started beating his wife with it. She screamed and ran. Ermatzi just watched, grinning with his yellow teeth. Another woman nearby trembled in fear. Word had spread through the village that I'd brought home 5 unsellable wives. Everyone was waiting to see me fail. That afternoon, my women went back and forth carrying stones from the mountain. Villagers watched and laughed, guessing I was just trying to fix my broken house. Some men with dirty minds stared at my wives and whispered that even if they couldn't have children, they were prettier than brothel girls. I didn't care what anyone thought. I was in the backyard digging a hole for a clay kiln. I'd studied this in my past life, so it wasn't hard. By sunset, the women came back and immediately took the tools from my hands, pushing me aside. Before I could protest, Shaoran brought a stool and started massaging my legs. Sure pressed gently on my shoulders. Cece ran to boil water. Soon Shaoran was washing my feet in warm water while Sure kneaded my shoulders. I sighed with deep comfort. After working all day, this felt incredible. Xiaoqian watched from the side, grinding her teeth. We'd both traveled through time. Why was I living like a king while she suffered? Cece brought me water, cooled to the perfect temperature. I was too lazy to even open my eyes. She held the cracked bowl to my lips, and I drank without lifting a hand. Sweet and fragrant. After resting, I arranged the broken stone pieces in the kiln, lit the fire, and made sure everything was safe. Dinner was mixed grain rice and porridge. Cece had made bamboo bowls from bamboo that Xiaoen cut earlier. But I noticed something. My bowl had rice while the women only had thin porridge. I frowned. Aren't we eating the same thing? Sure rushed to explain. Husband, we're not hungry. We're used to just porridge. I looked at her steadily. Change mine to porridge too. In this house, everyone eats the same. No differences, nobody argued. We all ate porridge together. The women stayed quiet, but I could see they were touched. After dinner, Sure asked if they should keep digging stones tomorrow. I said yes, then pulled out my silver. 3 taels from the government plus 4 from Daniu's bet. 7 taels total. Tomorrow I'll go to the city, I said. New bedding, 2 sets of clothes for each of you. Meat, vegetables. We can't live on coarse grain forever. Their faces turned strange. Sharon spoke carefully. Husband, winter is coming. There's no way to earn money. Maybe we should save the silver for grain and just survive until spring. I smiled. Don't worry about money. I have plenty of ways to earn it. They exchanged looks, polite smiles that barely hid their doubt. How could this skinny, sickly man make money? But he was their husband, so they nodded along. Remember the kiln outside? I said seriously. Once we turn those stones into lime, that's money. They glanced at each other. Broken gray rocks becoming lime? Heated with firewood? It sounded like a children's game, not real work. But they didn't want to crush my confidence, so nobody argued. Don't worry about money. I'm here, I said. It's late. Let's sleep. Then something strange happened. Usually someone would agree immediately. But this time, all 5 women went silent. Their heads dropped, faces bright red, hands nervously clutching their clothes. I stared, confused. 30 years of being single had left me completely clueless. Finally, Sure whispered in a voice barely louder than a mosquito. Husband, tonight is our wedding night. So, who should be the first to be with you? I woke up to the smell of food. Last night, when Sure asked who I'd spend the wedding night with, I nearly died of embarrassment. 5 beautiful wives, all waiting, but we'd only just met. I couldn't choose. In the end, I hugged each of them warmly and said, no rush. Let's get to know each other first. Relief washed over their faces. So on my wedding night, with 5 wives in the house, I still slept alone. In the morning, Sure and I agreed to go to town. But the whole way there, she kept talking about saving money and not spending too much. She'd even taken charge of our silver like a little housekeeper. Her mouth never stopped moving. I watched her lips and got an idea. Be careful, I said suddenly. She froze, mouth open in surprise. I pulled her close by the waist and kissed her right there on the road. She pushed at me, blushing furiously. Husband. In the middle of the street, I pulled back and grinned. Much better now. She glared at me shyly, face red, but the look was so charming it made my throat go dry. This girl would be the death of me. The town was about 10 kilometers away. For a normal farmer, that's an hour's walk. But my body was so weak it took us an hour and a half. By the time we saw the town walls, I was drenched in sweat. Sure pulled out a handkerchief and wiped my face. Want to rest? Pride wouldn't let me admit I was dying. I'm fine. The town was called Dagao. It had walls about 4 meters high because of the constant wars. 2 bored soldiers leaned against the gate. Inside, shops lined the main road, and people set up stalls everywhere. Sure seemed familiar with the place. She told me she and Yin used to come here often to buy supplies for their family. 2 young girls walking all this way alone? Weren't you afraid of wild animals? I asked. She smiled proudly. Yin is very strong. She learned hunting from our father. Regular animals can't beat us. That explained Yin's muscles. But it reminded me of the scars on her arms. My mood darkened. How did your family treat you? I asked carefully. Sure's face fell. My mother was kind, but she had 3 daughters and no sons. That made my father angry. His sister and her son used to hit us often. I clenched my fists. If I ever met that family, they'd pay for it. Sure led me to the biggest grain shop in town, Bai Jia Grain Shop. It was grand, with a fancy sign and workers standing at the entrance waiting for customers. A well-dressed man walked up, and the workers rushed to greet him with big smiles, fighting over who would serve him. The shop had sales targets. Workers who didn't meet them got their pay cut. Rich customers meant fine grain and big tips. Then Sure and I walked up to the door. Patched clothes, dusty faces, clearly poor. Nobody came to greet us. One servant glanced at us and pushed the youngest worker forward. Xiaoyu, go serve them. Consider it practice. Xiaoyu was just 12 or 13, small, shy, rosy-cheeked. It was her first day. She didn't realize her seniors were dumping the worthless customers on her. She clenched her fists, smiled sweetly, and let us inside. I didn't mind being ignored. In my past life, I'd faced plenty of rejection during job hunts and blind dates. I was used to it. Xiaoyu showed us 3 grades of grain. Low at 400 coins, regular at 500, premium at 600 per share. Sure whispered that the prices were fair. We looked at the low grade first, rough, full of husks, hard to swallow. Then the regular, better but still coarse. Finally, the premium section. I picked up a handful. Clean, high quality, meant for wealthy families. Sure, what do you think? I asked. Behind us, the servant snickered. He's pretending to be rich, wearing rags and looking at premium grain. Probably doesn't have 600 coins on him. Then their eyes landed on Sure. Her face was flushed with anger, which only made her prettier. They started making crude comments about her figure, calling her unsellable goods. My eyes went cold. I stepped in front of her, blocking their view. Sure tugged my hand and tried to steer me toward the cheaper grain. Husband, this is good. But it's too. Since you think it's good, we'll buy it, I said. 6 sure. Xiaoyu froze mid-sentence. Sir, 6 sure of premium grain. We don't give credit. I smiled and pulled out 2 taels of silver. Sure tried to stop me, but I held her hand, fingers intertwined. Her mind seemed to short-circuit. Her face turned the color of sunset. We'd only known each other a day, and holding hands in public was too much for her. Xiaoyu reached for the silver, thrilled. 6 sure on her first day was incredible. But just as her fingers touched it, I pulled my hand back. She looked panicked. Sir, make them apologize first, I said calmly, nodding toward the servants who'd been mocking us. Otherwise, we'll buy somewhere else. I turned to Sure. Want to try another shop? She blushed, knowing I was standing up for her. She whispered. Xiaoyu went pale and rushed to the other workers. They'd been gossiping about customers in the open. If the shopkeeper found out, they'd be in real trouble. They swallowed their pride and came over to apologize. I handed over the silver. Xiaoyu grabbed it before I could change my mind. Please wait. I'll pack it right away. The servants stood there stunned. Where did this ragged kid get so much silver? 6 sure of premium grain was more than they'd sell in 10 days. Their faces burned with shame. Minutes ago, they'd been laughing at us. The servants who'd mocked us scrambled to help pack the grain, all smiles and bowing now. Funny how fast attitudes change when silver appears. In 10 minutes, 6 sure was packed, about 720 jin. Too heavy for us to carry, so I told them to hold it. Xiaoyu beamed. Sir, for purchases over 5 sure, we deliver for free. Just leave your name and address. Even better. She ran to tell her shopkeeper and came back with a cloth bag. A gift from the shop, about 20 jin of extra grain. I nodded and thanked her. Outside, Sure started worrying. Husband, that was nearly 4 taels. We only had 7. If you'd bought lower grade, we could have gotten 2 more sure. I pinched her cheek and smiled. We have a stone mine at home. Why worry about money? She blushed, but argued back. We don't even know if it's real limestone. And even if it is, we'd need to mine it, process it, and find buyers. I patted her head and leaned close to her ear. Just eat well, take care of me, and give me a few little ones later. She shivered, her legs going weak. I caught her by the waist. This girl really knew how to make my heart race. Then a sharp voice cut in. Well, if it isn't the unsellable goods. I turned. A teenage boy stood there, sneering. Sure flinched and pressed closer to me. That's my younger brother, she whispered. Lu Ergu, he did look a bit like her. But his mouth was foul. He mocked Sure for being useless, said their father got beaten every year because their mother couldn't produce sons, and said the sisters should have been abandoned in the mountains as babies. He waved a bag of grain in front of us, bragging. Sure trembled with rage, but couldn't fight back. She'd been beaten and bullied by this boy her whole life. He kept going, insulting Cece too, calling her lazy, saying she'd never have enough to eat. My eyes went cold, but I kept calm. I looked at him and said quietly, "Dog, is this how you usually treat your sister?" He puffed up his chest. "So what? Going to stand up for her?" Then his face changed. He went pale. "Wait, what did you just call me?" "Say it again." Ergu was the spoiled only son, tall, strong from years of hunting, and used to pushing everyone around. Being called dog made him furious. He stepped forward, trying to look scary. I glanced past him and noticed the town's law enforcement team heading our way. Perfect. I put everything I had into one punch and hit Ergu right in the stomach. He stumbled back, clutching his belly, face white with pain. He never expected his weak, ragged brother-in-law to hit him in public. His eyes blazed. He cocked his fist to swing back, then spotted the enforcers coming closer. He pulled back and hissed, "You're finished," I smirked. Maybe it's not over yet. The enforcers were almost on us. I took 2 steps backward, dropped to the ground, and grabbed my stomach, groaning in agony. "What's going on here?" the team leader demanded. I pointed at Ergu with a trembling hand, gasping, "Sir, this man attacked me. I only said a few words, and he punched me. It hurts so much." Ergu's jaw dropped. "What? I didn't." "He hit me." The leader looked at me, skinny, pale, crumpled on the ground, then at Ergu, tall and muscular. The answer was obvious. "You, come with us to the government office." Ergu protested, but they didn't listen. One enforcer kicked him. Another smacked his head. With that weak body, he wouldn't dare fight you if he had 10 times the courage. "Stop lying." They dragged Ergu away. He turned and screamed at Sure, "From now on, we're done. I'll never share anything with you again." More punches shut him up. Once they were gone, I stood up casually, brushed the dirt off my clothes, and smiled. "Just a warning. Next time he bullies you, it'll be worse." Sure helped dust me off, giggling. "Husband, you're such a good actor." "Of course. Your husband is a man of many talents. Now let's buy clothes. I'm tired of people looking down on us." The town was busier now. Street vendors sold carrots, grain, candied hawthorns. We walked into a clothing shop. The owner, a friendly woman in her 40s, showed us different fabrics. I picked out bright red for Sure and black for myself. "Does red suit you?" I asked her. She chewed on a candied hawthorn and shook her head. "Red is pretty but gets dirty fast. Black is better, doesn't need washing as often." "Good point. No washing machines here. Winter laundry would be miserable." "Fine, black fabric. 2 sets each," I said. Sure nearly choked on her hawthorn. "2 sets? 1 is enough. You can have 2 and rotate them." "Husband," I frowned. "1 set per person. When do we wash it?" Sure convinced me that 1 set of clothes each was enough. In winter, washing cotton clothes ruins the warmth, and there are no washing machines here. We buy fabric and sew them at home. Fine. Once I sold some lime, I'd buy more. We picked up 2 jean of meat and walked around town, asking about lime prices. 1 sure of lime sold for about 650 coins, similar to premium grain. Reasonable, since it's mainly used for building. Then I noticed a young man limping into a pharmacy, blood dripping from his leg. An old man nearby shook his head sadly. "What a pity. He'll lose that leg." I was confused. "Can't they just stop the bleeding and bandage it?" The old man explained that all hemostatic medicines were sent to the front lines for the war. Regular shops had none. My mind started racing. Back in my previous life, I'd grown up in the countryside and learned folk remedies. One of them used lime mixed with a certain herb to make medicine that stops bleeding. If this kingdom desperately needed such medicine, I could make serious money. But first I had to find out if that herb existed here. On the way home, I took a few detours through the hills and found it, growing right there on a hilltop. Sure. Have you seen this grass before?" She studied it. "That's 4-item grass. Can't eat it, no special use. It's everywhere but doesn't grow in big patches." I grinned. "I can use it to make hemostatic medicine." Her eyes went wide. She knew how valuable that kind of medicine was. But she also looked doubtful. This grass was common as dirt, and nobody had ever found a use for it. Still, she looked at me with growing admiration. First the limestone nobody believed in, now medicine from a weed nobody wanted. Her eyes practically sparkled. I stood a little taller. "About an 80% chance it'll work. Let's pick some and try." We gathered what we could and headed home as the sun set. At the village gate, Lita greeted us warmly. He noticed our small bag of grain and offered to lend us his ox cart next time so we could haul back a few hundred jin for winter. I agreed gratefully. A few steps later, we ran into Daniu and her Motzi. Daniu rushed over, pretending to be a concerned elder. He eyed my small grain bag and clicked his tongue. So little? Already saving up 8 taels for me. His gaze slid over to Shir, lingering on her figure with an ugly look in his eyes. I glanced at him and said nothing. Ermatzi chimed in, offering to help me find cheaper grain at market stalls. I smiled politely. No need, uncle. I knew those cheap stalls sold the worst quality. Anything decent went straight to grain merchants at 370 coins. Nobody sold good grain from a street stall out of kindness. I walked past them without another word. I had Lime to check on at home. Behind me, I heard them grumbling. That kid has no manners. We're his elders, and he ignores us. They sounded offended, as if their fake kindness deserved real gratitude. When I got home, the yard looked different. The kitchen had been fixed up with 4 strong posts so it wouldn't collapse anymore. A pile of limestone sat in front of the house. The girls had been digging all morning. Having 5 hard-working wives was something else. Shir rushed to bring me water, then wash my feet. She found blisters and looked worried. Let me handle town errands from now on, she said. I felt embarrassed. We'd walked the same distance, but she was fussing over me like I was made of glass. Once things settle, my sisters and I will find work so you can live well, she added. I sighed. I told her I could earn money, but she just wouldn't believe me. Meanwhile, the other women had been carrying stones back all day. Daniu had harassed them on the street, eyeing them with greedy looks, and even asking them to come live with him instead. He knew that women taken midway had no legal protection. He could do whatever he wanted with them. Yin nearly punched him. Xiaoen held her back. Hitting a man could mean serious trouble with the authorities. Daniu got bolder, sticking his face out and taunting. Go ahead, hit me. So I did. I walked up and slapped him hard across the face. First time I've seen someone beg to be hit, I said, shaking my hand. His skin is thick. Yin, blow on my hand for me. Yin's eyes lit up. She grabbed my hand and blew on it sweetly. Daniu was stunned, then furious. I looked at him coldly. Respect my wives. Next time, I won't just use my hand. He remembered the knife from yesterday and backed off. Just wait, he snarled, then ran home. At dinner, Cece cooked the premium grain and meat we'd bought. White rice with meat broth. The smell spread through the whole village. My mouth watered just looking at it. The women stared at the food with red eyes. Shir and her sisters had rarely eaten meat at home. It always went to the boys first. Xiaoen started crying mid-bite. What's wrong? Shir asked. This is the first time I've ever eaten meat, Xiaoen sobbed. Her father and brothers had gone to war and never returned. Her mother froze to death one winter. She and Xiaoqian had survived alone ever since. Something heavy pressed on my chest. Being born in this era was cruel. Men died in wars. Women were treated like property. For a moment, I wanted to save everyone. But I shook that thought away. No special powers, no tools. All I could do was take care of the people right beside me and make their lives better, step by step. After dinner, I told the women about the 4-item grass and the hemostatic medicine plan. Xiaoqian asked if the medicine was really valuable. Xiaoren scolded her. With all medicines going to the front lines, ordinary people had nothing to stop bleeding. If we could make it, we'd be rich. Xiaoqian's eyes sparkled with hope, but I could tell she still doubted me. The others worried too. We'd spent most of our silver on premium grain and meat instead of saving it. Xiaoren cried again after dinner. She was grateful for the food, but terrified our money wouldn't last the winter. She didn't believe in the lime or the medicine, but she stayed quiet to protect my confidence. As the sun set, a donkey cart appeared at the village entrance. The village chief, Lida, went to check. The driver said he was delivering grain. Lida was confused. Nobody in the village ordered grain deliveries. Then it hit him. Could it be for me? But why would that poor kid buy so much grain that it needed a cart? Seeing that the village chief couldn't understand, the chatty driver explained, "We are from the 100 Families Grain Shop's delivery team. If you buy more than 5 stones of top-quality grain from our shop, we will deliver it to your door for free." Today, a young man around 15 or 16, named Lin something, came with a pretty girl to buy grain. The village officer thought, 15 or 16, a young man with a pretty girl. That must be Lin Xiaofan. Did he really buy over 5 stones of top-quality grain? How wasteful. Thinking of this, the village chief felt a bit angry. Any family in the village was better off than Lie Xiaoen. This young man only had a little silver, and he didn't even save it. Everyone likes good grain, but after eating it, what then? Do you and your wives just sit around and do nothing? By the way, where does that young man live, and who is he? I haven't heard of anyone like that in our village before. The driver asked again. It wasn't out of curiosity, but because the shop owner had told him beforehand to find out about the grain buyers' backgrounds if possible. He's called Lie Xiaoen, and he's a villager here. As for where he lives, just go straight from the village entrance, and the first house at the top is his. Seeing that the village officer really didn't know, the driver shook his head and continued forward. Lier Motzi and Li Daniu, who were playing on the street, saw the donkey cart and immediately got excited. There wasn't much entertainment, and the women were busy working in the fields. They just came out to play, chat, and have fun. But staying at home all day was boring, so they loved to play on the street. They kept an eye on everything happening in the village. Li Daniu approached and asked, "Brother, what are you guys doing in the village?" The coachman saw someone talking to him, so he stopped the cart and said, "Deliver some grain." "Deliver grain? Our village's harvest was good this year. No one is buying large amounts of grain," Li Daniu asked. The coachman thought for a moment and replied, "I think it's Lie Xiaoen. He bought 6 sure of top-quality grain. Our grain shop has a rule. If you buy more than 5 sure of top-quality grain, we help transport it for free." "What? He bought 6 sure of top-quality grain?" Lier Motzi was shocked immediately. He remembered he had just been talking about finding cheap grain for him. Who knew this kid would buy 6 sure of top-quality grain all at once? It turns out he didn't hesitate to buy so much because he couldn't afford it, but because he couldn't carry it all. As for Li Daniu nearby, he was completely stunned. From what he knew, Lie Xiaoen only had 7 taels of silver. 6 sure of top-quality grain would cost nearly 4 taels of silver. Plus, the cloth he brought home today, he probably didn't have much money left. How could he pay back his 8 taels of silver then? He couldn't just sell him, could he? With his build and that broken house, even selling him wouldn't get much money. Thinking this way, Li Daniu realized his 4 taels of silver might be wasted. He suddenly became anxious. This kid, why is he so wasteful? If he keeps going like this, how will he pay me back? No, I have to go find him and get my silver. He said this and was about to head to Lie Xiaoen's house. "Brother Daniu, calm down. Going to his house now won't get you the silver. After all, he hasn't broken the bet." Lier Motzi quickly stopped him. Li Daniu thought for a moment. Going there wouldn't help, but not going would leave his anger unresolved. "All my 4 taels of silver are gone. What kind of thing is this?" He said this and stormed home, even leaving his lounge chair behind. By the way, who exactly is Lie Xiaoen? The coachman looked at Lier Motzi still nearby and asked. "He has no parents, eats his last meal today, and goes hungry tomorrow. Just go see for yourself. Follow the village entrance, and the most dilapidated house is his," Lier Motzi replied, feeling it was pointless and better to go home and hug his wife. Seeing that Lie Xiaoen ate better than himself, he felt a bit jealous. When the coachman pulled the grain over, he could smell a tempting aroma of meat. He took a deep breath, and at that moment, Lie Xiaoen had finished his meal. A few women carried the grain into the house, which was already filled with things. Suddenly, seeing so much grain, the few women didn't feel much happiness, mostly worry. They didn't say much. The grain was bought, and their husband was kind. If things got difficult, they could wait and look for some work to do outside. Their husband was so good to them, they couldn't let him down. Watching his wife busy, Lie Xiaoen sat on a small stool in the yard. He looked up at the sky. The sun was about to set, but there were no clouds, so the night should be bright. In ancient times, there were no bright city lights or pollution, so the moon and stars shone very brightly, enough to light the dark roads. If it was cloudy, it would be very dark, almost impossible to see anything. The sun hadn't set yet, and he wondered how his lime kiln was doing. He thought it was probably fine. When he was in school, he studied this and watched videos, but he still wasn't sure without seeing the finished product. Now that he had just brought his wife home, according to the rules of this country, he would be safe for half a year. But it wasn't guaranteed. When war was close, officials might come to the village to draft soldiers. Families would have to send someone or pay money. He didn't know when war might happen, but he had to earn money before then. Otherwise, if he went to the battlefield, it would be life or death, and with his weak body, he might just be cannon fodder. To stay alive, he needed to earn enough silver first. He didn't want to die before enjoying life in this ancient time. Thinking of this, Lie Xiaoen went to the backyard to check his clay kiln. Yesterday, because time was tight, he built it quickly, so it was small. But it was enough for experiments. Once he mastered the firing temperature and timing, he could build a bigger kiln. The most important thing in making lime was controlling the fire. If the fire was too small, the lime wouldn't turn the right color and wouldn't stick well, reducing its value. If the fire was too big, it would shrink too much, making it look bad and wasting resources. He also didn't have coal now, so reaching the right temperature would take a long time, increasing the cost of experiments. "Hubby, what are you doing?" His thoughts were interrupted. Lie Xiaoen looked up and saw Lu Shishir and others had appeared behind him. It was getting dark, and he had gone out. They were worried, so they followed him. Seeing how concerned everyone was, Lie Xiaoen felt warm inside and smiled as he replied, "I think it's about time. I'm about to start the kiln. Leave this kind of thing to us. You just rest nearby." Li Yinyan said she was about to help Lie Xiaoen open the kiln. "No need. This is the first time firing. I'll do it myself." Lie Xiaoen held back Yinyan. He was quite excited about this first attempt. Seeing Lie Xiaoen so eager, the women didn't say much more. As long as their husband was happy, that was enough. Everyone looked at the earthen kiln with anticipation. Although their husband said he could produce lime, they weren't very confident. The chance of making lime was probably small. But if it worked, they wouldn't have to live a hard life anymore. Really? Just a simple earthen kiln, can it really make lime? Lie Xiaoen tried hard not to say much, but seeing how much the women trusted Lie Xiaoen, she couldn't hold back. In her past life, she saw scenes of kiln firing on TV. Those kilns were at least as big as a house. But Lie Xiaoen's small, house-sized earthen kiln, what could it possibly produce? Lie Xiaoen, shut up. Lie Xiaoen quickly glared at her and stopped her. She had previously said she wouldn't care about Lie Xiaoen anymore, but since their mother died, they had depended on each other. Could she really ignore her? Seeing that Lie Xiaoen didn't say anything, she finally relaxed. It seemed she still needed to watch over her sister, or trouble would come sooner or later. Lie Xiaoen went to check the kiln. The firewood inside was already burned out. Because it was dark at night, he could only see a black hole inside. Seeing Lie Xiaoen silent, everyone else also stepped forward to look. The inside was completely black, with no sign of lime. It probably failed. Although the women felt a bit disappointed, it was expected. Their husband had grown up in the village and probably never saw a limestone mine, so mistakes were normal. Even if he was right, it wouldn't be possible to produce lime in just 1 or 2 tries. "Husband, it's okay. It's normal to fail on the first try." "Yes, you've never been taught, so failure is fine. We just need to try a few more times." "Right, we have plenty of strength. If one attempt doesn't work, we'll try twice. We'll get the lime eventually." "Husband, you've done very well." The women comforted him one after another. After all, he was doing this for their benefit. He just wanted them to live better. If he got discouraged, that wouldn't be good. "What? Did I hear that right? Lie Xiaoen, you're making lime?" Harsh laughter came from behind as Li Daniu and Li Matzi approached. The two of them also took a walk at night. From a distance, they saw many people gathered in Lie Xiaoen's backyard, so they came over to take a look. Through their conversation, they learned that Lie Xiaoen was trying to make lime, but it seemed to have failed. Li Daniu had been frustrated with Lie Xiaoen several times, and since he had a good chance, he decided to mock him a little. Li Matzi was also just watching the fun and didn't mind joining in. "Xiaoen, I'm not saying this to hurt you, but do you really know how much stuff you have in your head? Making lime isn't something just anyone can do. Instead of wasting time on this, you should plant more crops. Your brain is better suited for that," Li Daniu said sincerely, acting like an elder to Lie Xiaoen. "Besides, the limestone mine isn't something we can touch. The officials know exactly where the mines are. Do you even have limestone?" He looked at some dull gray stones nearby and laughed loudly. "Xiaoen, you don't really think these are limestone, do you? Oh, this is hilarious. Limestone isn't gray. You dug up these stones from the mountain and thought you could make lime? Are you crazy?" Hearing their husband being mocked, The women immediately got angry. What my husband wants to do is none of your business. And who says he can't make lime? Lu Yinyin, who had a fiery temper, was furious when she heard Li Daniu's sarcasm about her husband. Haha, you really think your husband can make lime? You're all fools. Young lady, making lime isn't as simple as just picking up some stones from the mountain. And with your husband, who's been bedridden since he was a child, trying to make lime? That's impossible. Seeing someone dare to argue back, Li Daniu became even more confident. Since he believed Lie Xiaoen couldn't make lime, he felt free to mock him without restraint. I don't get it. Why are you all bringing stones home every day? At first, I thought you were building a house, but it turns out you're making lime. A bunch of people who don't even know basic facts. No wonder you chose a remote, deserted hillside. It's hilarious. If your husband really could make lime, I'd cut off my head and kick it around for you. You. Lu Yinyin and the others were immediately angry but didn't know how to respond, since their husband truly hadn't made any lime. The village was especially quiet at night. Although there was some noise earlier, the neighbors nearby had heard it and come out to see what was happening. Now, quite a few people had gathered. After understanding what had happened, they started discussing and thought Lie Xiaoen was being a bit unrealistic. Lie Xiaoen wants to make quicklime? Has he gone crazy thinking about money? Such delicate work can't be done without inherited skills. How could he possibly make it? I wonder why his wives are always busy moving stones. This kind of quicklime can't be made from just any stones. I don't know what he's thinking. What else could he be thinking? He's been sick in bed since he was young, so it's normal if he doesn't know these things. Seeing Lie Xiaoen being pointed out by everyone, Lier Motzi also showed some mockery on his face, but he still spoke in an elder's tone. Xiaofan, if you really need money, I can help you find some jobs. They might be tiring, but earning your own living isn't a problem. We shouldn't get involved in such high-tech work. But Lie Xiaoen seemed not to hear the crowd. He kept searching inside the earthen kiln. After a while, his eyes lit up. When he reached out again, he held a piece of white stone. Suddenly, Li Daniu's laughter stopped abruptly, and the surrounding chatter also quieted. What? What is this? Lier Motzi asked in shock. He hurried forward and snatched the stone from Lie Xiaoen's hand, eyes wide open. He hadn't seen anyone how to burn quicklime before, but when the village built houses before, families with good conditions bought some raw quicklime. That stone looked just like this. But wasn't Lie Xiaoen a failure? Didn't he fail to make it? This thing definitely isn't. It just looks a bit like quicklime. Quicklime, Lie Xiaoen said calmly, as if he was simply commenting on how nice the night was. Actually, this should be raw quicklime. Hiss. As soon as he said that, everyone gasped. Is this really quicklime? Did this kid succeed? Using these broken stones that look like dust? No way, absolutely impossible. This kid is just a sickly person, never leaves the house, has no experience. He probably hasn't even seen a kiln for quicklime. How could he make it? It just looks like quicklime. It must be ordinary stones. Li Daniu was also stunned and quickly denied. Quicklime requires limestone as raw material and precise control of the fire. It takes a lot of experience to burn it properly. How could Lie Xiaoen possibly do it? At this moment, the village chief pushed through the crowd and carefully examined the stone. He even touched it with his hand, and his whole body trembled with excitement. This is quicklime. When I was young, I went to the town to build a house for a wealthy family, and I used this kind of stone. I even checked it carefully back then, and it looks just like this. I couldn't be mistaken. As soon as the village chief spoke, the crowd erupted in surprise. Is this possible? Lie Xiaoen really made quicklime. Could he have a way to make quicklime? That shouldn't be easy. I heard it's quite difficult to produce. Exactly. I heard that the method to make quicklime is passed down from ancestors and is not shared. He's just a kid who grew up without parents and has never left the village. How could he know how to make quicklime? Whether he's bluffing or really talented, he did produce it. If he can make it, it means there's really limestone in that mountain slope. Lie Xiaoen has found a treasure, but wait, that land isn't even covered with grass. Could there really be quicklime inside? Hey, didn't you see his wives digging there these days? Who would have thought that such a dull-looking stone could be turned into quicklime? I heard that the price of limestone is about the same as good grain. If they mine all the stones from that mountain, how much money would that be? Looks like Lie Xiaoen will be rich soon. Damn it. Why is it that I never get such good luck? Anyway, we should quickly flatter Lin Xiaofan. Maybe we can get some benefits in the future. Xiaofan, I have a daughter who's 16. She's still a girl, but she's quite capable. Do you want to consider her? Daniu was so shocked that he couldn't recover for a long time. He still couldn't believe Lin Xiaofan could produce quicklime. Hearing that the villagers were starting to flatter him, he became anxious. This poor, inexperienced country boy, why was everyone flattering him? And that mountain slope was bought with just a few taels of silver, which Lin Xiaofan chose. He had initially wanted to trick him, but instead, Lin Xiaofan got lucky and made a big profit. This couldn't be allowed to continue. It's just a lucky coincidence. We only made a small piece. Think about it. This kiln is so big, it could produce dozens of jin at a time. Why did he only bring out such a small piece? Lin Xiaofan, what do you think? A slightly sarcastic voice came from nearby. Everyone looked over and saw Daniu with a look of frustration on his face. People already doubted Lin Xiaofan's abilities, and after Daniu's words, they all chose to believe him. Everyone's eyes turned to Lin Xiaofan, waiting for his answer. Lin Xiaofan looked at Daniu, who was causing trouble, with a cold gaze. If he wanted to make big money in the future, he needed to hire many people, and the closest villagers would be the best choice. If the villagers actively flattered him, he could give them jobs later, and they would be grateful. But if he took the initiative to hire people, it would seem like he was begging for favors, which wouldn't be as effective. Daniu's interruption made a simple matter more complicated. What if it's more than just this small piece? Lin Xiaofan asked coldly. I remember someone said that if I could make lime, he would cut off his head and kick it like a ball. Daniu was stunned for a moment. When he thought more carefully, he realized he had indeed said that. At the time, he was just angry about the slap earlier that afternoon, so he spoke harshly. But who would have thought that Lin Xiaofan, this country bumpkin, could really produce lime? But it doesn't matter. If he pretended he never said that, he could get away with it. After all, Lin Xiaofan had no proof. Even if he did, he wouldn't really cut him. He had lived for decades, and when it came to being shameless, Lin Xiaofan was far behind him. Yes, I think I heard that too. I heard it too. It seems Daniu said that. Before he could speak, the villagers, eager to watch the show, started to cheer. Daniu's face turned pale, and he cursed the villagers' ancestors in his mind. But with everyone making a fuss, pretending to be shameless clearly wouldn't work anymore. If he forced it, his reputation would be ruined. They were all from the same village. He didn't want to walk around with his head down for the next half year. Haha. You think you made a small piece of lime just by guessing? After thinking for a while, Daniu finally came up with a plan. Lin Xiaofan only produced one piece, so as long as he stubbornly clung to that point, he might still get away with it. That way, he could also save some face. If I still have lime in my clay kiln, what then? Lin Xiaofan crossed his arms and looked at Daniu with a teasing expression. You want face? Since you care about it, that makes things easier. Originally, I had to pretend to be doing something for you. But since you want face, I won't bother. All right, let's do this. We're neighbors in the same village. I won't ask you to cut off your head. Let's bet 2 taels of silver, whether I can find lime in my clay kiln or not. What do you think? After hearing this, Daniu's eyes became uncertain. Lin Xiaofan was so confident that there might really be lime inside. Usually, he wouldn't gamble because the risk was too high. But now, so many villagers were watching. If he just left now, he would be looked down upon in the village. Maybe this kid was just pretending to be confident. It was so dark, he probably didn't even know if there was lime inside. And lime isn't easy to make. He must be bluffing me. Unfortunately, he's still too inexperienced. At this moment, the villagers started cheering again. Let's gamble. Bet with him. Daniu. Hurry up and bet. Don't be afraid. These farmers' daily life was just working, eating, and sleeping, with little entertainment. Now that there was a big show, they didn't want it to end early. Forget it, I'll gamble. Maybe I can earn 2 taels of silver. Daniu clenched his teeth and said, I'll bet. Who's afraid of you? Seeing Daniu agree, a faint smile appeared on Lin Xiaofan's face. Since you chose to save face, the silver is mine. To make lime, it depends on temperature and time. Since he managed to make a piece, it means the temperature and time were roughly right, so there must be more than one piece of lime inside. Most importantly, Lin Xiaofan had just found several pieces of stone, which were probably also lime. He just hadn't had time to take them out. Husband, I'll go look again, Lu Yinyin volunteered. Good. Be careful not to get burned. Find all the lime inside so that some people can't come up with excuses. Seeing Lu Yinyin so eager, Lin Xiaofan agreed. It didn't matter who went. His own body might not be able to carry much lime at once. Lin Xiaofan, don't be too proud. Who wins or loses isn't certain yet. When Daniu heard Lin Xiaofan implying he was after him, he immediately retorted, but his tone lacked confidence. He looked into Lin Xiaofan's eyes, trying to find a hint of panic to comfort himself. Unfortunately, Lin Xiaofan's eyes only showed confidence. Lu Yinyin didn't keep everyone waiting long. Soon, she came out looking dusty and tired, holding 7 or 8 pieces of lime in her arms. Husband, this is all of it, Lu Yinyin said, placing the lime down and wiping sweat from her face with her sleeve. The kiln had just finished burning the lime, so it was much hotter inside than outside. Lin Xiaofan felt a bit of sympathy. The sudden change from cold to hot was hard on the body. If he caught a cold, it would be troublesome. For such tiring work, it's better to let outsiders do it. Only the core skills should be kept by their own people. Sweetheart, you've worked hard. Lin Xiaofan immediately stepped forward, carefully lifting his sleeve to help Lu Yinyin wipe the dust off her face. But it was better not to wipe at all. Once he did, Lu Yinyin's already dusty face became even more black and gray, looking like a little black cat. Everyone, including Lu Shishir and others, couldn't help but laugh out loud. The villagers watching also started to smile. The women who came over looked at Lin Xiaofan with envy, then at Lu Yinyin's dirty face, and their admiration was hard to hide. Lin Xiaofan was able to produce lime, and not just a little. Things would definitely get better in the future. His wives, who looked thin as monkeys, clearly couldn't have children. Why would these women, who nobody wanted, be happier than themselves? In the future, life would not only be better but also wealthier, and even men would know how to care. They had worked hard at home, but even when they were exhausted, their husbands never said a kind word. Sometimes, they even beat and kicked them. Seeing the lime come out, Lu Shishir and others looked excited. First, their husbands earned 2 more taels of silver. 2 taels could buy over 3 shur of good grain. Second, the lime was surprisingly good. Since it was their first time making it, they didn't put much limestone into the furnace. Now it looked like at least 1/3 of the limestone had turned into lime. Remember, this was just the first attempt. With continuous improvement, the yield would increase. Soon, they wouldn't have to worry about food. That much? It doesn't look like a lie. Lin Xiaofan might really know some methods of making lime. Is lime valuable? Let's put it this way. 1 gene of lime can exchange for 1.5 gene of coarse grain. Do you think that's worth something? Does that mean Lin Xiaofan will become rich in the future? Xiaofan, my granddaughter is 17, just like Lu Shishir from your family. She's also very hardworking. Would you consider her? Hearing the last comment, Lin Xiaofan's eyes lit up. He was about to discuss further when he noticed Daniu sneaking away quietly from the crowd. Everyone was chatting happily, so no one paid attention to him. Uncle Daniu, don't rush off. When will you send the 2 taels of silver? Daniu, feeling guilty, was startled when called by name and jumped in surprise. This funny look immediately caused a burst of laughter. Daniu wiped the cold sweat from his face and snorted. Humph, you don't need to worry. I will definitely give you the silver. Suddenly, he had a bright idea. The land was with Lin Xiaofan now, and he knew he couldn't get it back. But he could find a way to make Lin Xiaofan return the land to the village. What he couldn't get, he wouldn't let Lin Xiaofan get either. Xiaofan, you know these years have been full of war and heavy taxes. If a little drought comes, many people in the village will die. This mine originally belongs to the village. Why don't you return it to the village? The villagers' eyes lit up when they heard this. If the mine became the village's property, everyone could earn a lot of money from it. All eyes turned to Lin Xiaofan. The mine was his, as clearly written in black and white. If he refused to give it up, no one could force him. The village chief also considered for a moment and then spoke. Xiaofan, the mine is so big, you can't mine it all by yourself. How about this? You return the mine to the village, and we will gather 30 taels of silver to exchange. What do you think? The village chief stroked his beard and looked up as he spoke. He thought his offer was tempting enough, especially since Lin Xiaofan had grown up poor and probably had never seen so much silver. With this silver, he could buy a bigger house, get a few new clothes, and still have enough left to survive a bad year. But to his surprise, Lin Xiaofan refused without hesitation. No, I don't plan to give up the mine for now. The mine was in his hands, and sooner or later, it would be worth thousands of taels of silver. How could he let the village take it for just 30 taels? The village chief frowned, thinking he had offered too little, and then gritted his teeth to say, "All right, then we will gather 40 taels of silver for you. And you will also get a share of the profits from the mine." "Xiaofan, our village people are not doing well either, and we really can't gather more. Forget it, Uncle Li. I want to keep the mine. It's useful to me." Lin Xiaofan kept smiling gently and politely refused the village chief's request. The village chief had always treated him well, and now he was trying to negotiate kindly. He couldn't ignore or confront Li Daniu like he did. But Li Daniu's move to use others as a tool was really ruthless. "Xiaofan, why don't you return the mine to the village? Such a big mine. Your family can't possibly use it all, yes, and you still need to farm the land. There's not enough time to mine. Let the village handle it. It's better for everyone. Xiaofan, don't worry. We will sell everything we have, even if it means selling our belongings, to gather 40 taels of silver for you." Nearby villagers also wanted a share and urged Lin Xiaofan to hand over the mine. Seeing this, Lin Xiaofan frowned and replied, "Everyone, I won't give up the mine. Even if I did. Do you know how to make quicklime?" The villagers fell silent. Making quicklime? That's a joke. Many of them have never even used a simple kiln, let alone make quicklime. Making quicklime is a skilled job. If someone knew how, they could get a good job in the city, live comfortably, and not worry about food for generations. If it were so easy to learn, who would still be farming here? Seeing no one responded, Lin Xiaofan continued, "If you don't know how to make quicklime, what use is the mine to you? You can only sell stones, but the price of stones is less than a third of what quicklime sells for. Plus, you have to mine and transport them to the town. How much money would that bring? The 10-kilometer journey from here to the town involves crossing several hills. Most people can only carry 20 or 30 jin of goods back and forth. If they use a bullock cart, they might not reach the town before dark. Stones are not expensive, and this trip would earn less than working in the fields." Everyone fell into thought. Lin Xiaofan's words made sense. If they gave him the mine, they wouldn't make much money. Seeing that most villagers were convinced, Lin Xiaofan added, "But don't worry, I will work with everyone to make money in the future." Most villagers were persuaded, but Li Daniu was unhappy. If Lin Xiaofan became successful, wouldn't he want to get back at him? Could he still have a good life? Everyone, don't be fooled by Lin Xiaofan. Think about it. This year, the weather was good, but if a drought comes and the crops fail, you'll have to rely on selling stones to survive. Li Daniu hurriedly tried to persuade them. Ridiculous. If a drought happens, even if you have money, you won't be able to buy enough food, Lin Xiaofan retorted sharply. During a drought, food prices would skyrocket, and even with money, you might not get enough to eat. Li Daniu wanted to argue further, but was stopped by the village chief, who raised his hand. "Li Daniu, that's enough. This stone mine originally belonged to Lin Xiaofan. Giving it is a gesture of kindness. Not giving is just doing one's duty. Moreover, even if we were given it, we wouldn't make any money." Everyone sighed when the village chief spoke, then prepared to go home and sleep. The sigh wasn't because Lin Xiaofan didn't give the stone mine, but because they missed a chance to earn money. After everyone left, Lu Cici ran over directly. "Husband, you're so amazing. You really made lime." A fresh fragrance came with her words, and as she leaned into his arms, Lin Xiaofan instinctively hugged her. Lu Cici's body was soft, like she had no bones, making her feel very comfortable in his arms. "Of course. Don't you see who your husband is?" Lin Xiaofan proudly lifted his head, then sniffed her hair. "It's so nice." "Husband, if we make lime, can we eat full every day?" Lu Cici blinked her big eyes, hugged him tightly, and looked at him with hope. Suddenly, happiness came so quickly that she couldn't quite believe it. Just 2 days ago, she was still starving. Lin Xiaofan was amused by Lu Cici's expression. He rubbed her head and smiled, saying, "Of course. I promise you, not only will you eat full every day, but you'll also have meat at every meal, until you're tired of it." Hearing this, Lu Cici cheered happily. "Really? That's wonderful. We'll have meat every day from now on." Everyone was amused by Lu Cici's happy face. They also felt genuinely glad. In the future, as long as they worked hard, they could eat full every day. For them, that was something they never dared to imagine before. But, by the way, we have an important task tonight, Lie Xiaoen said with a smile. Huh? What task? Lie Xiaoen asked curiously. It was already late tonight, so they couldn't keep making lime. Their houses were almost tidied up, so she couldn't think of any other task. Seeing everyone's curiosity, Lie Xiaoen continued. Catch the thief. A thief? Where did the thief come from? Stealing is a very bad act. The village has an old rule. If someone is caught stealing, they are either expelled or, in serious cases, executed on the spot. So, unless there's a famine that makes people starve, no one in the village steals. As for outsiders, that's even less likely. Their house is so poor that normal thieves wouldn't even bother to look. All the food was stored inside the house, so even if someone looked, they would only see a pile of stones and firewood. Husband, where could the thief have come from? Everyone thought for a long time, but couldn't figure out where a thief might have come from to steal their things. Daniu, seeing that I can make lime, will surely be jealous in the future. He might also think that since I can make lime, he can too. When he makes lime, he might use that as a reason to get the village to take back my land. So I believe he will go to the mine tonight to steal some stones, and then try to figure it out himself. Lie Xiaoen calmly shared his guess. Everyone listened and suddenly understood. Given Daniu's personality, it's very likely he will try to steal something tonight. Husband, you're so clever, Lu Cici sincerely praised him. All right, tonight we will catch him and then send him to the village chief. According to the rules, he will be expelled from the village. With his lazy and greedy nature, once he's out, he has no way back, Lu Yanyan excitedly said. She had long disliked Daniu, especially because of his ugly face and rude mouth. Yes, let's drive him out of the village together. Lu Cici also nodded excitedly, casually grabbing a wooden stick and swinging it forcefully, as if imagining Daniu starving in a strange land. No, we can't expel him tonight. If he goes to the mine to steal stones, even if we catch him in the act, we won't have enough evidence. Lie Xiaoen thought for a moment and said, this isn't modern times. There are no cameras or anything to record evidence. Even if they catch Daniu, as long as he refuses to admit it, they can't prove anything. Hearing this, Lu Yanyan and Lu Cici looked disappointed, as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over them. Lu Xiaoen thought for a moment, then suddenly brightened her eyes and came up with an idea. Then we should call the village chief. If he's there, he can also help prove it. No, even if we and the village chief see it, it's still hard to prove he stole something. Lu Shishir shook her head gently. If just any household and the village chief testify, it would be too easy to falsely accuse someone. But it's okay. When we catch him, we can beat him up and make him hand over the silver. He won't have any way out, since he was the one who stole first. Lie Xiaoen thought for a while and came up with a plan. It might not completely prevent future trouble, but it would definitely let them vent their anger. Good idea. Let's do it that way. Li Yanyan clenched her fists, eager to act. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of things breaking kept coming from Daniu's house. I'm so angry. I'm really furious. Lie Xiaoen, that little troublemaker, tricked me out of 6 taels of silver in just 2 days. Daniu kicked over a table with his foot. His house was now a mess. Everything that could be broken was broken, and tables and chairs were all on the ground. He couldn't understand how Lie Xiaoen, a simple country boy, had such luck. He had tricked him into choosing a piece of land that was useless, but it turned out there was a stone mine there. He just threw some stones into a kiln, and it produced lime. That land with the mine was chosen under my guidance. Not only does he not appreciate it, but he also keeps provoking me. This country bumpkin, he's really making me mad. He said this and suddenly punched the fallen table. Crack. Ah. The sound of the table leg breaking and Daniu's scream came at the same time. Daniu hugged his hands and squatted on the ground, groaning. He had been so angry earlier that he used too much force. Plus, his body was already weak, and now he felt like his bones were broken. The pain was sharp, and cold sweat dripped down his face. Come out quickly and rub my pain. Daniu shouted at his wife. Daniu's temper was already bad, and he often scolded or hit his wife. Now that he was so angry, the women were trembling with fear, none daring to step forward. Seeing his face twisted with rage, the women trembled even more. Are you all dead? Can't you see I'm about to die from the pain? Come here. Daniu's face was fierce, and the women were even more scared. Someone pushed him hard, and a young woman staggered forward. Daniu stared at her intensely. She was scared but had no choice but to step forward. She tremblingly approached and bent down to blow on his injury. But she was so nervous that she accidentally touched his wound again. Slap! A loud slap sounded, and the woman was slapped to the ground, falling awkwardly. Good for nothing, get out of here, Daniu shouted. The young woman quickly got up, crying as she ran back into the inner room. Tears streamed down her face, but she dared not cry out loud. Since coming to this house, she had worked day and night every day, yet she still couldn't even get enough to eat, even though there was plenty of food at home. Not only that, but he also had to endure Daniu's unjust scolding and hitting. Thinking about tonight when Lie Xiaoen was cleaning dust for his wife, she felt more and more upset inside. Why are other husbands so young, handsome, and caring, while her husband only knows how to be lazy and hit people every day? But she could only swallow all these feelings inside. In the outer hall, Daniu sat on the ground, his anger still not calming down. After a while, a mouse heard the silence in the outer hall and suddenly darted out from inside, running outside. Damn it! He's stealing grain again. Daniu's mood exploded again, and he trembled with anger. He looked around for a tool, but found none nearby, so he quickly took off his shoe and threw it with all his might. However, the little mouse dodged with a quick move. Before leaving, it turned back and squeaked twice at Daniu, as if mocking his helplessness. You're damn. Daniu wanted to chase after it, but when he stood up, he couldn't catch his breath and almost fainted. Recently, everything had been going wrong, and his emotions were very unstable. He felt like he couldn't go on. Seeing this, the mouse still didn't leave and wagged its tail at Daniu. Always stealing food. Stealing. Daniu suddenly remembered something and slapped his forehead. Yes, I can go steal some stone or... The reason Lie Xiaoen could persuade the villagers was because they didn't know how to make lime, and going to. The mine wouldn't help. But if he could find a way to make lime himself, he would have a reason to demand the village to use the mine. Even Lie Xiaoen, who was clumsy, could make lime, so with his own intelligence and skills, as long as he had the raw materials, making lime shouldn't be difficult. He was sure that if he went to steal some stone or and experimented, he could make lime. At that time, the mine would have to give in, and he could not only gain a good reputation in the village, but also make a big profit from the lime-making method. It was a perfect plan. His plan was becoming clearer in Daniu's mind. He immediately decided to steal some or tonight. In a corner of the mine, 6 figures were lying on the ground, carefully watching. It was Lie Xiaoen's family. Lu Yinyin was holding a cloth bag over her head, looking tiredly at the moon high in the sky. A gentle breeze blew, and she yawned. Husband, do you think Daniu will really come tonight? Lie Xiaoen looked at the empty mountain area and also felt uncertain. In theory, with Daniu's personality, he should definitely come tonight. Could I have overestimated him? He hasn't even thought about coming to steal the ore? Let's wait a little longer. Maybe his mind will come around. Lie Xiaoen spoke. We've waited so long. If we leave now, all our efforts will be wasted. Lu Cece, who was on guard, was feeling sleepy. She propped her head up with her stick, trying not to fall asleep. Half an hour ago, everyone had come to hide on the hillside. She thought catching a thief would be fun, so she eagerly took over the guard duty. But who knew it would be so boring? No, I can't sleep. Lu Cece shook her head, forcing herself to stay alert, and looked into the distance. Just then, a figure suddenly appeared far away. Lu Cece rubbed her eyes, sure she hadn't misseen, and her eyes lit up. She whispered, someone's coming. In an instant, everyone became alert, gripping their sticks tightly. Lu Yinyin also clenched her cloth bag. By the way, Yinyin, what do you have in that cloth bag? Lu Cece tried not to laugh as she asked. Lu Yinyin, holding the bag and looking serious, had a funny, earnest expression. What do you know, kid? Lu Yinyin rolled her eyes at Lu Cece. It adds a sense of ceremony, but we're not robbers. Close enough. Shoo. They're coming. The figure was getting closer. It's Daniu, looking quite sleazy. Daniu was holding a hoe, sneaking around nearby. He found a spot suitable for mining and started digging with his hoe. He seemed happy about something, smiling slyly and muttering to himself. Hoes aren't good for mining, especially since the stone is hard. After a long time, he finally dug out a small piece. Such effort. Daniu wiped sweat from his face, looked at his hoe, which now had a chip. If he kept digging, it might break. Damn it, I wasted my hoe again. Damn you, Lie Xiaoen. I will tear you to pieces. Boo-hoo. Halfway through cursing, he suddenly felt something wrap around his head, and everything went black. Stealing silver. Catch the thief. Catch the thief. A sweet female voice sounded in his ear. Just as he was about to explain, he felt sticks falling like rain on him. Stop hitting me. I'm not a thief. Please, spare me. Don't hit me. Daniu was beaten until he was dizzy and faint, lying on the ground begging for mercy. However, the sticks did not stop because of his pleas. Instead, they became even more aggressive. Stop stealing silver. Stop stealing silver. Don't hit me anymore. I was wrong. I won't steal again. Daniu gave up struggling on the ground. Throughout, his head was covered with a cloth bag. Every time he tried to reach up and remove the bag, the sticks would strike his hands like rain. He believed there must have been a misunderstanding. After all, he only stole a piece of stone and had never seen any silver. Lie Xiaoen saw that Daniu was about to give out, so he raised his hand to stop everyone. Hurry and hand over all the stolen silver. Lie Xiaoen pinched his nose and spoke in a deep voice. But his acting was quite clumsy, and Daniu quickly saw through it. Xiaoan, is that you? Xiaoan, I am Uncle Daniu, not a thief. Embarrassed, Lie Xiaoan coughed and said, Not Xiaoan, I'm not Xiaoan. I am Lu Ergu. Then, Lie Xiaoan raised his stick and struck him fiercely again. Xiaoan, I really am your. Daniu wanted to explain, but he was interrupted by a flurry of sticks. Okay, I was wrong. You're not Xiaoan, you're Lu Ergu. Daniu, unable to resist anymore, pinched his nose and admitted. But I didn't steal money. I just wanted to dig some stone or to play with. Nonsense. The 2 taels of silver I left here are gone. Only you are here, so it must be you who stole it, Lie Xiaoan said firmly, causing some women nearby to giggle quietly. I really didn't take anything, big brother. I was wrong, I took it. I'll give it back to you now. Daniu still wanted to struggle, but he was met with another brutal beating. I took it. I'll return it now. Stop hitting me. Daniu groped around his body and muttered softly, afraid of more beating. After a long while, he took out 2 taels of silver from a pocket inside his pants. Silver was not safe to keep at home, so villagers usually carried it with them. How dare you steal? Consider this a lesson for you. Then, the crowd beat Daniu for a while longer before they left satisfied. Sister Yin, why did you just grab my stick? Lu Cici said angrily. Just then, after Lu Yin caught Daniu, she snatched Lu Cici's stick away. You're too weak. It doesn't hurt when you hit. That's too much. The next day, Lie Xiaoan opened his eyes. By now, the sun was already shining brightly. He stretched lazily, feeling a bit heavy-headed. He had stayed up late the night before, so he slept until now. Husband, you're awake. Lu Shishir saw Lie Xiaoan wake up. Holding a basin of face wash and a towel over her shoulder, she came over. She placed the basin by the bed and started washing Lie Xiaoan's face. Sure, I can do this myself, Lie Xiaoan said, enjoying the moment but feeling a little shy. 2 days ago, he was just a single man working in the city. Who would have thought that after just 2 days, he would wake up to a beautiful woman washing his face? Husband, such small things shouldn't be done by you. Besides, you went to town yesterday and worked making lime. You're already so tired. Let us handle the face washing, Lie Xiaoan sighed. It seemed he could only enjoy the moment. After washing his face and having breakfast, Lie Xiaoan prepared to continue making lime. Tada! Before he could get up, there was a knock on the door. I'm coming. Lu Shishir quickly went to open the door. Lie Xiaoan was puzzled. Who could be visiting his home? After last night's events, Li Erma-zi and Li Daniu had definitely fallen out with him. His previous self had been bedridden, so he probably didn't know many people in the village. Thinking about it, he couldn't guess who might be coming, so he decided to go see for himself. When the door opened, a middle-aged man dressed in animal hide clothes was waiting outside. He looked to be in his 30s or 40s, about 1.8 meters tall, with a scar on his face and a strong build. He was holding a puffed cloth bag in one hand. Lie Xiaoen recalled his previous memories. It seemed this person wasn't from the village. "Dad, why are you here?" Lu Shishir asked, making Lie Xiaoen, who was confused, suddenly realize what was happening. He paused for a moment, then smiled and said, "Father-in-law, please come in." Usually, after a daughter gets married, her family doesn't interfere much. This person probably came about Lu ergo. But regardless of the reason, he was his father-in-law, and he couldn't neglect proper manners. Lu Shishir's father was named Lu Chang, an old hunter. After entering the courtyard, Lu Chang looked around. The house was a bit old, with stones piled on one side of the yard and firewood on the other. Inside the house, Lie Xiaoen invited Lu Chang to sit down, while Lie Xiaoen hurriedly cleared away the leftover food from the table. Lu Chang glanced at the leftover rice and swallowed nervously. Desperate to save his son, he started traveling at dawn and didn't have time to eat. As for why he arrived so late, it was because he was unfamiliar with the area and took many wrong turns. "Father-in-law, I didn't expect you to visit my humble home. I haven't prepared anything." Lie Xiaoen smiled and spoke first to exchange greetings. "It's okay. I should have called ahead. Sorry for the inconvenience." They exchanged polite words inside the house, but neither of them brought up serious matters. Lie Xiaoen couldn't directly suggest releasing Lu ergo, as it might seem like he was flattering the Lu family. Lu Chang had thought about bringing out some food he carried and then proposing to release Lu ergo, so both sides would save face. But seeing the fine grains and meat in Lie Xiaoen's house, he felt it was not appropriate to show off his own modest supplies. Since Lie Xiaoen and others had just finished breakfast, the house still smelled of meat. Lu Chang had started traveling early and hadn't eaten yet. Now, smelling the meat, he found it more tempting, and his stomach growled. "Father-in-law, you haven't eaten yet? I'll ask Shishir to make you some more food." Lie Xiaoen noticed Lu Chang's awkwardness and quickly broke the silence. Sure, bring some food for your dad. No need to trouble yourself." Lu Chang quickly refused. Today, he was here to ask for help, so it wouldn't be proper for others to cook for him. "Dad, just eat a little," Lu Shishir said, scooping some leftover rice from the morning into a bowl, pouring 2 spoonfuls of meat broth on top, adding a few pieces of fatty meat, and placing it on the table. Seeing the now graceful Lu Shishir in front of him, Lu Chang's eyes showed a hint of relief. Sure, I was the one who let you and your sisters down in the past," Lu Chang said with some regret. "But now that I see you all doing well, I feel like a burden has been lifted from my heart." Lie Xiaoen raised an eyebrow after hearing this. He had always been curious about Lu Shishir's family situation. "After your mother died, your aunt forced me to send you 3 sisters away, threatening me with her life. You've suffered a lot these years. These grains are for you." Now, they might seem a bit modest. Lu Chang opened the cloth bag in his hand, revealing about 30 to 40 jin of grain, mixed coarse and fine grains, probably average quality. For an ordinary family, this was a generous gift. Considering the ongoing war, heavy taxes, and possible famines, these 30 or 40 jin of grain could save lives. But for Lie Xiaoen's family, it might not be much. "It's okay, Dad. It's all in the past. And you've helped us a lot, too." Lu Shishir didn't hold much resentment in her heart. Although her father drove them out of the house, he gave them some land and food. If they caught more game, he would send some to them. He tried his best to help them. In that time, many fathers would simply abandon their daughters. What she truly hated were her aunt and younger brother. "Food is almost cold, Dad. You should eat first." Lu Chang looked at Lu Shishir. Seeing she had no real complaints in her eyes, he felt relieved. Looking at the meal in front of him, grain and some meat, Lu Chang swallowed hard. "Since that's the case, I won't hold back." The food was already served, and not eating would be rude. Thinking this, Lu Chang started to eat. After he finished, he hesitated before speaking. "Our family's ergo was wrong yesterday. He's been spoiled since he was young. I want to apologize to you. Also, I'd like to ask for your help. Please let him go." Yesterday, Lie Xiaoen was the one who was beaten. If Lie Xiaoen went to the officials and offered some money, it wouldn't be hard to get Lu ergo out. Lie Xiaoen said, "Lu ergo insulted Shishir as soon as he saw us yesterday. It was like meeting an enemy. I don't mind if he's forgiven, but only if Shishir is willing." He initially thought about letting Lu Ergo stay in jail and fend for himself. But his father-in-law had come with gifts, so it wouldn't be polite to refuse. However, he had no right to forgive Lu Ergo on Lu Shirshir's behalf, so he left the decision to her. Shirshir, what do you think about this? Lu Chang looked uncomfortable. He knew how Lu Ergo had treated Lu Shirshir and her sisters, beating and insulting them. Yesterday on the street, Lu Ergo started insulting her again. So, it would be hard for Lu Shirshir to forgive him. She looked at her father, who seemed troubled, and her face showed a conflicted expression. She wanted to punish Lu Ergo severely. Even if he died in jail, she wouldn't mind. But she also didn't want her father to suffer too much. On one side was revenge, on the other was her father's well-being. After a long pause, Lu Shirshir seemed to make a decision and sighed. Husband, we've already taught him a lesson. Let him go now. If he dares to do this again, we won't forgive him. In the end, she decided to release Lu Ergo. Compared to other families, Lu Chang treated her 3 sisters and her mother quite well. Even if it meant selling everything, Lu Chang would find a way to rescue Lu Ergo. She didn't want her father to worry about this matter. Sure. Thank you. Lu Chang hesitated for a long time before finally saying thank you. Glancing at the burly man, Lin Xiaofan forced a smile. Lu Yinyin and Lu Sisi, having finished their serious talk, also came in, smiling happily. Especially Lu Sisi, who was bouncing around. Dad, you're here. Dad, I miss you so much. When Lu Yinyin was young, she often begged Lu Chang to teach her how to hunt. As she grew older, she always went hunting with Lu Chang, so their bond was very close. Lu Sisi, being Lu Chang's youngest daughter, was also the most loved by him and very close to him. Lu Chang saw that his 2 younger daughters didn't hold grudges about what happened earlier and were very close to him. He felt very happy, but at the same time, he also felt a bit regretful. If he had been more firm in his attitude, would they have been driven away? Fortunately, during the half-year since they divided the family, he hadn't mistreated his 3 daughters. Otherwise, he might have regretted it for the rest of his life. What comforted Lu Chang was that Lin Xiaofan treated his daughter very well and was quite capable. His daughter following him wouldn't suffer any wrongs. The family kept talking until noon before they prepared to leave. Take care, Dad. Dad, I will miss you. When saying goodbye, everyone was reluctant to part, especially Lu Sisi, who was almost crying. This separation might mean they would never see each other again in this lifetime. That was just how things were in this era. Most families didn't treat their daughters well. Once they sent their daughters away, they lost contact. Few people visited the bride's family. And since it was a male-dominated society, if the man in the family didn't allow it, women couldn't visit their relatives. As everyone's mood grew more sorrowful, Lin Fan broke the silence with a word. All right. Once we're done with our work, I'll take you to visit your family. In his mind, it was normal for a woman to visit her family after marriage. Really? Husband, you're so kind. Lu Sisi wiped away tears that were about to fall and hugged Lin Xiaofan tightly. Lin Xiaofan instinctively wanted to pat Lu Sisi's head, but saw his father-in-law nearby, so he held back. Before leaving, Lin Xiaofan cleaned the clay kiln thoroughly, refilled the stone mine and firewood, and started a new round of lime burning. The last batch of lime produced had mostly failed because it lacked cohesion. Learning from the last time, Lin Xiaofan added more firewood and scheduled the kiln opening for the morning after tomorrow. He also recorded some important data from his 2 previous attempts at making lime. This world still has no paper, only bamboo slips and brushes. Lin Xiaofan is not used to writing on bamboo slips, and there is no paper at home, so he simply wrote on an open space in his yard. When he has the chance, he can make some paper to use. But for now, he needs to focus on making lime well. After finishing these tasks, he prepared to leave for the town. Since he was leaving later than usual, if the trip was not smooth, he might encounter nocturnal animals on the way back. So Lu Yinyin decided to go with him. 2 hunters accompanied them, and Lu Yinyin carried a homemade big bow. Lin Xiaofan felt very safe and even hoped some wild animals would come out to challenge the 3 of them. The journey was quite smooth. After entering the town, they headed straight to the government office and found a constable named Chen. Lin Xiaofan looked at this man. He had a mustache shaped like the character 8, was a bit overweight, and had a smooth, friendly smile. He looked very clever. If they hadn't met at the government office, Lin Xiaofan might have thought he was a shrewd merchant. Brother Chen, long time no see. Oh, isn't that Xiao Chong? I almost didn't recognize you. You're looking younger and younger. Is this your daughter? She's quite spirited, just like you when you were young. This Constable Qian and Lu Chong were from the same village. They were very talkative, and as soon as they met, they started chatting happily, like old friends reuniting. On the way, Lu Chong secretly slipped some silver into Qian's hand when no one was paying attention. Brother Qian, I won't hide it from you. I have a favor to ask. My son was caught at the government office for fighting on the street. I wonder if you have any way to help. Lu Chong spoke with a humble smile and a slightly pleading tone. After hearing this, the constable Qian gently stroked his beard. If your son fought in public, that's a bit difficult. Let me think if I can find a way. He then furrowed his brows, seeming to consider a plan. But after a while, he didn't say anything. Seeing his expression, Lu Chong clenched his teeth and took out a little more silver to give him. Only then did Qian's brows relax, and he smiled twice. Chong, I think this will be hard to handle. The main issues are two. First, your son's behavior challenged the government office. If I give some benefits to my colleagues, that can be resolved. The second point is that the person who was hit needs to forgive him. If it had been a couple of years ago, this wouldn't have been necessary. But in recent years, things have changed. If that person feels wronged and goes to the mournful drum to complain, it could cause us a lot of trouble. Hearing this, Officer Qian squinted his small eyes, looked around to make sure no one was nearby, then leaned in and whispered, My boss, Captain Bao, is a straightforward man. If he finds out about this, it won't be easy to handle. Perhaps because he thought Lin Xiaofan posed no threat, Officer Qian spoke openly without hiding anything. Lin Xiaofan didn't expect there to be such an upright person in the county. He silently made a mental note of this person's name. Lu Chong quickly explained, Don't worry, brother. This young man is the one who was beaten. He's my son-in-law. It's all a misunderstanding. After hearing this, Officer Qian carefully examined Lin Xiaofan. He was dressed in worn-out clothes, clearly not someone wealthy or powerful. He was small and thin, either malnourished or sickly, with no real value for flattery. Since that's the case, it's easy. Just come with me to pick him up, he said. Officer Qian no longer hesitated and agreed immediately. For him, bringing someone in was just a matter of a sentence. The idea of giving colleagues benefits was nonsense. Few officials in the government were truly honest and clean. Everyone relied on some kickbacks or bribes, which over time created unwritten rules of mutual non-interference. Captain Bao couldn't do much about this either. He couldn't just dismiss all the officers, no matter how upright he was. He wouldn't go against the entire department. But he had his principles and wouldn't let his subordinates act without limits. If someone released a person privately, causing others to shout injustice or go to ring the mournful drum, he would investigate thoroughly. Hey, isn't that Captain Bao? Officer Qian's voice pulled Lin Xiaofan out of his thoughts. He looked up and saw a large, dark-faced man walking toward him. The man was about 1.9 meters tall, with dark skin and muscular build, his bare arms exposed. Standing there, he looked like a mountain. This was Captain Bao himself. He kept a cold face, nodded slightly as a greeting, then quickly walked away with a brisk stride. Throughout the whole process, he never looked directly at Officer Qian. Lin Xiaofan had always disliked people like Officer Qian, who were only interested in profit. That dark-faced Bao Tianqing always has a sour look, like everyone owes him money. He just got some achievements and got promoted. What's so special about that? After Captain Bao was far away, Officer Qian muttered quietly. Captain Bao looks down on his kind who only seek profit, and he also looks down on Captain Bao for not understanding how to deal with people and navigate official circles. Soon, Captain Qian hides his displeasure and puts on a smooth smile again. Then let's go and pick up the people. Lin Xiaofan and Lu Yanyan don't want to meet Lu Ergu again, so they don't follow. They walk around the city, buy 4 jin of meat, and then head home. Maybe because they ate well the day before, Lin Xiaofan feels stronger and moves faster than last time. They arrive home before the sun sets. At home, some women are breaking stones, some are chopping firewood, and others are sewing clothes. When they see Lin Xiaofan return, they put down their work to greet him. Over the next few days, I plan to build small furnaces in the backyard to make quicklime, so I can find the best way to do it. At the dinner table, Lin Xiaofan shares his idea. Relying on the old clay kiln at home to gather data probably won't help him find the method anytime soon. In his mind, the small furnace is about 1 square meter, mainly built with clay, with firewood at the bottom and mineral stones at the top. He saw the making process in a video by a wilderness survival channel, and it looked very simple, so he remembers it well. This kind of furnace is definitely not suitable for making lime because it's too small, probably can't produce even 5 gene at a time. But for experiments and data collection, it should be enough. Hubby, what kind of furnace are you talking about? Lie Xiaoen asks with some doubt. She has never heard of any method to make quicklime besides the clay kiln. Lin Xiaofan thinks for a long time but can't clearly explain the furnace, so he just describes it roughly. It's a device for making quicklime, digging a pit underground to burn firewood, and building a small clay house above ground to burn the lime inside. Lie Xiaoen sorts out her thoughts and finally understands what Lin Xiaofan means. But she's never heard of such a thing, probably just her husband's sudden idea, and she doesn't know if it will work. If they want to find a quick way to make lime, they can't rely on just one clay kiln. So she continues, I think we can build another kiln, so the process will be faster. Burning 2 kilns at once will definitely speed things up. If Lin Xiaofan's furnace works, then they can make lime in 3 places at the same time. However, she quickly sighed again, but altogether, there are only 3 places for lime burning. The speed is still too slow, and we don't know when we'll be able to perfect the lime-making method. It's not that she's pessimistic. Mainly, making lime is indeed a difficult task. Don't worry, I have my own way, Lin Xiaofan said confidently after swallowing a bite of food. The backyard is small, but building 10 furnaces is not a problem. Trying 10 at once will help us improve the lime-making process quickly. 10? That's impossible, Lie Xiaoen hesitated. In her mind, since the furnaces are for lime burning, they should be about the size of a traditional kiln, right? The backyard is small, with only a little space left. Building even 1 seems tight, so how could they build 10? Even if they used all the space in the backyard, it wouldn't fit 10. Even if her husband is very capable, he's not a fairy. He can't just create land out of nowhere, right? Husband, I also think our backyard can probably only fit 2. Lu Shirsher clearly didn't believe it either. Many parts of the backyard are filled with discarded items and trash, with lots of weeds growing. There isn't much usable space. Plus, the backyard is quite small. Even after clearing out the trash and weeds, at most, they could fit 2 furnaces. Seeing that everyone didn't believe him, Lin Xiaofan shook his head and added more. 10 is just my minimum estimate. If we squeeze a bit, we could probably fit 14 or 15. At this, Lie Xiaoen and others completely lost faith. But looking at Lin Xiaofan's serious expression, it didn't seem like he was joking. Could it be that her husband really has some new trick? Lie Xiaoen thought for a while, but couldn't think of any way to fit 10 lime-burning setups on such a small piece of land. Lu Shirsher also pondered, thinking Lin Xiaofan might not fully understand the size of the backyard. Lu Yinyin and Lu Cc exchanged meaningful glances, but ultimately didn't come to any conclusion. From Lin Xiaofan's perspective, they might not be on the same page. Li Xiaoqian was just eating and trying hard not to snap at Lin Xiaofan. After dinner, everyone went to the backyard together. Lin Xiaofan estimated that about 20 square meters of usable land was available, and building 10 furnaces was definitely doable. Watch carefully, I will only teach this once. Recalling the process again, the first step was to mix the clay. He first brought a bucket of water and gathered some soil nearby, then mixed the clay. The sun had already set, but the afterglow was still visible. Lin Xiaofan calculated the time and thought he could finish before it got dark. At this moment, Lie Xiaoen watched Lin Xiaofan's every move carefully, afraid of missing any detail. Lin Xiaofan picked up a shovel and worked on the ground, digging 2 rectangular pits for storing firewood. Then he pinched some clay with his fingers, forming a large clay disc, and gently placed it into the pits. To improve airflow, Lin Xiaofan used a special technique called invisible finger, making several thumb-sized holes at the bottom. This completed the base of the stove. Husband, your stove is a bit small. Isn't it not cost-effective to make fire with it? Lu Cc asked out of curiosity. With such a small base, how many pounds of material can you process at once? I understand now. Husband is using this small clay kiln to experiment, to find the best temperature and time for firing. Then he will build a larger kiln for mass production, right? Lie Xiaoen thought for a moment and finally understood. Their family used to have a clay kiln, the biggest in the village, so she knew a bit about this. But she had never heard of her husband's method for making stoves like this. However, she had to admit, this method was very practical, saving a lot of time and cost in experiments. Lin Xiaofan nodded, showing that Lie Xiaoen had some talent in this area. In the future, he could consider letting her handle the lime burning process. He looked up at the sky, which was getting dark. To speed up the clay's solidification, Lin Xiaofan placed some firewood in the pit and lit it. With the high heat, the stove dried quickly. Using high temperature to make the clay solidify fast. If we do it this way, wouldn't the process of making clay utensils be much faster? Lie Xiaoen was once again amazed. In this era, many people still made utensils from mud to store things. But because the mud was sticky before drying, it took a long time to be ready for use after shaping. If they used fire to bake it, it could be shaped in a short time. Her husband was truly a genius. Lin Xiaofan focused on building the clay kiln, starting to pile mud around the edges of the base. He designed the stove to be wider at the top and narrower at the bottom, like a water jar. The top of the stove had a round hole, which could be used to place or remove stones, and also served as ventilation. Lin Xiaofan added a thicker layer on top and kept shaping it, making the surface much smoother. After about the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, Lin Xiaofan tapped a few times and felt it was stable enough. Done. Lin Xiaofan rubbed his hands together as the sunset faded away. Looking at the small, delicate boiler, it didn't resemble a traditional kiln at all. It also didn't hold much. Using this to burn lime would definitely be impossible. It would be too tiring. But right now, they just wanted to find the right temperature for experiments, so making it small was more convenient. Husband, how did you come up with this idea? Making such a small stove for experiments. You're a genius. The women were all amazed by Lin Xiaofan's clever tricks. Using this small stove for testing could allow multiple stoves to work at once, speeding up progress. It also would reduce waste of mineral resources. This invention alone solved many problems. And then there was the method of speeding up clay solidification with fire. If they learned how to do that, making clay tools would become much faster. Although they now had ceramic items that were strong, durable, and pretty, they were too expensive for ordinary people. Most just made simple clay tools or used bamboo directly. Of course, just look at who your husband is, Lin Xiaofan said proudly. It's getting dark, so let's go back inside. Otherwise, we might not see anything later. On cloudy nights, it really becomes pitch dark, and they'd have to feel their way to get inside. Maybe it was because Lin Xiaofan's words seemed to bring good luck, but as soon as they entered the house, it was completely dark outside. They lit an oil lamp and placed it on the table, barely able to see inside the room. In the small room, 6 people crowded together, creating a warm, homely feeling. But after a while, Lin Xiaofan felt something was wrong. The 5 women stood quietly, heads bowed, not talking or going to sleep, like they were being punished. Why aren't you sleeping? After a long pause, Lu Shishir finally spoke with a blushing face. Husband, we've already fixed the bed. Lin Xiaofan suddenly realized and his face turned bright red. Although he had lived nearly 30 years in his previous life, he was still a virgin at the time of his death. He did have thoughts about that, but he always felt he wasn't ready yet. We have only been married for 2 days, so this matter can be delayed a bit. Lin Xiaofan softly declined. However, the women tonight didn't plan to let him off easily. Lu Shishir blushed and quietly reminded him, Husband, don't forget about the fertility target. If you don't meet the requirement in a few years, you'll be in trouble. Hearing about trouble, Lin Xiaofan thought of the people who had been beaten badly before, and he took a deep breath. In the end, under pressure and persuasion, Lin Xiaofan agreed and chose the most sensible Lu Shishir to go into the bridal chamber first. As for the others, they could only be a bit uncomfortable and share the next room. A cold wind blew across the land, stirring up yellow fallen leaves and taking away much of the color from the ground. Achoo! Lin Xiaofan, sitting outside in the yard, suddenly sneezed, causing his lounge chair to shake. In just 7 days, winter was approaching, and the weather was getting colder each day, especially in the mornings and evenings. Husband, be careful not to catch a cold. Lu Shishir came out of the house, putting a black cotton coat on Lin Xiaofan and gently pressing his shoulder. During these 7 days, everyone worked hard, and each person added a cotton coat. But Lin Xiaofan felt that wearing a coat limited his movement, and since it wasn't very cold, he had not worn it. Now the house had changed a lot. The kitchen had been renovated from a shaky, broken thatch hut into a sturdy earthen house. The house and courtyard walls had been repaired, no longer leaking wind or water. Inside, there were several new beds with thick quilts. Lu Cece was making red cotton-padded jackets with fabric bought in town a few days ago. More than a dozen stoves filled the backyard. Lie Xiaoen was very interested in this, and after the stoves were built, she stayed here helping Lin Xiaofan. Lin Xiaofan was very pleased with her, so he gradually taught her some methods of lime making and also shared some industrial ideas from the 21st century. How much she could absorb was uncertain. After a few days of teaching, Lie Xiaoen could now do experiments alone, and Lin Xiaofan finally got to rest. "Husband, it's done. The lime is made," Lie Xiaoen's excited voice came. Then she ran from the backyard, holding several pieces of lime. "Husband, just now one batch was fully processed. Look at the quality." Lin Xiaofan also sat up from the lounge chair, looking at the white lime in front of him, and a smile appeared on his face. "Congratulations." Li Shishir saw this and also smiled. Once the lime is made, they will have a steady source of income. Lin Xiaofan casually picked up 2 pieces of lime, shook them in his hand, and was very satisfied. "Very good. These are of good quality and should sell well. Have you recorded all the data?" Their efforts over the past days finally paid off. With this data, they could produce lime in large quantities. "Of course, I've memorized everything," Lie Xiaoen replied. She took out a piece of wood with the words 5 Shun written on it. Fire level 5 started burning during Shen hour yesterday. To make recording data easier, Lin Xiaofan decided to place a piece of firewood outside each furnace to note roughly how much wood was added and when it was burned. If the data proved valuable, they would keep it. If not, they could burn it next time without taking up much space. This was much better than writing on the ground. "Great. Now we can produce lime in large batches." Now that the lime was finished, Lin Xiaofan planned to move on to the next steps, making hemostatic medicine and producing lime in bulk. To produce lime in large quantities, they needed several large clay kilns. The house they considered wasn't very big, and its location was not ideal, so building clay kilns there was quite difficult. However, there was a large, bright mansion near the limestone mine, with plenty of space around it. If they talked to the village chief, they could buy the house and the surrounding land to build several kilns. Since the house was right below the limestone mountain, transportation costs would be greatly reduced. He had already found out the price, 40 silver coins, which was acceptable, but he couldn't afford it right now. "Next, I plan to try making the hemostatic medicine. If I make money, I can buy that big house. Then building kilns will be much easier." Lin Xiaofan was full of confidence. "Haha, Lin Xiaofan, do you know how much that house costs?" 40 silver coins. "Where are you going to find so much money?" Li Xiaoqian muttered. Recently, she had been holding back her doubts. She thought making lime was really profitable, but after all these days, Lin Xiaofan had only produced a little. They couldn't even exchange it for a bag of rice. Suddenly, Li Xiaoqian felt hopeless about the future. She had been too optimistic. She thought Lin Xiaofan, a struggling young man, had found a lime mine, and their family would really become rich, at least part of the mining generation. But the reality was, ancient productivity was very low. How much lime could they produce in a day with just a few people? And it still needed further processing. Lin Xiaofan said that making a traditional kiln would cost a lot of money. At this moment, Lin Xiaofan didn't have much money. It all felt like a dream. Just when she thought she was about to succeed, reality hit her hard. "Li Xiaoqian, you can't speak, so shut up." Li Xiaoren was almost furious. Her sister had been quiet these days, seeming to understand the situation, but now, "Sister, we don't have enough money to buy a big house or build a lime kiln." Li Xiaoqian cried sadly. She also wanted a better life. "You need to trust our husband." Lu Shishir looked at Li Xiaoqian with displeasure. It was the first time she saw such a clueless woman. Luckily, their husband was patient. If it had been another man, he would have kicked her out long ago. Enough. We've just been experimenting these days. We need to find the best way to make the kiln. Lime isn't expensive, so our first profit won't come from selling lime, but from selling healing ointments." Lin Xiaofan wasn't angry. He was more tolerant of Lie Xiaoen. After all, they were from the same place, and it was normal for her to feel a bit insecure. Besides, he wasn't the only handsome man around. It was better if she wasn't here. Lu Shirshi's eyes lit up when she heard this. Husband, do you need any tools? I can prepare them for you. In the past, her husband said he could make a hemostatic medicine, but she didn't believe it. Lin Xiaofan had been poor all his life, never went to school, and wasn't a doctor. How could he make such medicine? It was probably just talk. But after these 8 or 9 days of being together, her impression of Lin Xiaofan gradually changed. Now she felt that her husband seemed to be capable of anything. If he wanted to do something, he could definitely succeed. Lin Xiaofan recalled the process from his previous life. To make a hemostatic medicine, he needed to grind 4 herbs into juice. He thought about using a bamboo tube to hold the herbs and squeeze them manually, or using a piece of suitable wood to press them. Next, he needed to make lime powder. In this era, there were no special grinders. To get fine powder for medicine, he had to first break the lime with a hammer and then grind it repeatedly with a stone mill. If it weren't for the urgent need for the medicine and its high price, he wouldn't want to do it. Once he had the powder, he just needed to soak it in the herbal juice, then dry it out, sift it, and grind any large chunks further until everything turned into fine flour. That would be the finished product. This is almost the simplest way to make a hemostatic medicine, but in times without proper tools, it is still quite difficult. Just need a basin, a small piece of bamboo to squeeze the clover, and a hammer to crush the lime. After thinking for a moment, Lin Xiaofan listed what they had at home. They didn't have a stone mill, so he needed to borrow one from a neighbor. As for a sieve, he could make one himself slowly. Do we still need bamboo? Lie Xiaoen paused. It's not that they didn't have bamboo at home. They had leftover bamboo from making a lounge chair last time. But she didn't understand why bamboo was needed to squeeze the grass juice. Lin Xiaofan smiled and said, using bamboo makes it easier to squeeze. You'll see later, husband, just tell me what to do, and I'll do it. Sister Sure, you go ahead and get busy. Lie Yuanyuan heard about making the hemostatic medicine and hurried over in a rush. Since a few days ago, when Lin Xiaofan said they didn't need to collect stones for now, Lie Yuanyuan had nothing to do at home. She could only make clothes with Lie Sure and Lie Sisi. But this work didn't seem suitable for her. After a few hours, her fingers were covered with red pinpricks from the needles. Now that there was other work to do, she hurried over to help. Seeing this, Lie Sure gently shook her head. Her younger sister was now an adult wife, but her fiery temper hadn't changed at all. Crush these pieces of lime into smaller bits. The finer, the better. Oh, and go slowly while doing it, so you don't hurt yourself. Lin Xiaofan gave instructions. Lie Yuanyuan's strength was strong, so she was faster doing this. Husband, don't worry, I'll handle it. You can trust me. Lie Yuanyuan patted her chest to assure him. She didn't seem to take it seriously and casually responded. It was just smashing a piece of lime. What could go wrong? Then she placed a larger piece of lime on the ground, pressed one hand down, and suddenly raised the hammer to strike. Bang! The stone split into several pieces. One small piece flew out directly toward Lin Xiaofan's face. Lin Xiaofan quickly dodged backward, narrowly avoiding the deadly blow. Almost, his unmatched face would have been ruined. You do things, but I don't trust you at all. Lie Sure just happened to be carrying bamboo over, saw this scene, and was startled. She was a bit angry and said, Lie Yuanyuan, go slower. Sorry. Lie Yuanyuan touched the back of her head and smiled awkwardly. She didn't expect the lime to be so fragile. Husband, are you hurt? Lu Sure stepped forward, holding Lin Xiaofan's face gently, looking him over from left to right. After confirming that Lin Xiaofan was not hurt, she finally relaxed. Don't worry, it's fine. Taking advantage of their faces being close, Lin Xiaofan kissed her lightly on her cherry lips. Suddenly, Lu Sure blushed and gently hit Lin Xiaofan.